Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I I am so sorry. I didn't realize that you guys weren't hearing what I was saying. I hadn't added myself to the stream yet. So sorry. I'll have to edit that one out. Hello to everybody. I thought you had heard me already, but let me start over. It has been a really difficult 24 plus hours, I think, for all of us who have been following the Rodney, what am I saying? The Kiely Rodni case. It has been just unimaginable for the family, especially. And I cannot imagine the level of grief. Cannot I even begin to imagine what that is for them right now. And I could only imagine that they're mad at they're probably mad at God, like any of us would be when we lose somebody, that it's just so hard to digest when you lose somebody that you love. So tonight I'm going to be sharing something with you that has not circulated, I don't think. You're going to hear something, you're basically going to hear the account of this investigator, this pro bono investigator that went to Truckee, California, that area, and he was basically with the family the last 6 days or so. And you're going to hear him answer some questions that are very interesting. At the very least, we can get an idea of what he experienced while he was there, what he saw, what he felt, and things like that. So I figured, it'd be great to share that with all of you. Oh my gosh, Seeds of Hope. Uh, Naomi? Hello, Naomi. Good to see you. Let me say hello to all of you, though. Hello, Mandy and Holly Golightly, Chuck Lee, Chrissy M, Ann M Town. Hello to you, Joan Harkin, Mary Hildebrandt, Truth Seeker, Cat H. I know I'm missing people. I am so glad to see everybody tonight. Thank you for coming on such short notice. It's wonderful to be here with you tonight. So the last, 2 weeks for some of us, I think some of us have followed this case the entire time. Others maybe in just the last week or so. But for everybody, it's just been such a roller coaster, wondering, were the friends shady? What's the deal with the friends? What's the deal with the boyfriend? We've been wondering so many things. And I, just like in the last 24 hours, have been teetering between two main thoughts. And I'm sure many of you have also. It's hard to hear Sammy, the friend's statements from the car, her car interview, and not be left kind of scratching your head going, what? That just doesn't, like, what does she mean? What's this supposed to be? It just felt like she was hiding something. Now, could it be that what she was hiding was just she didn't want to go into great detail about the drug use? I don't know. But I am still left with so many questions. My hope is that tonight some of these questions will be answered for you. Anyway, let me start reading some of your comments. Hello, John Q. How are you doing? Good to see you in here. Hello, Mom 23 Kitties and Sarah McGarrell. Yeah, lots of questions for sure. Real quick, I want to get an idea of what you guys are thinking. Put a 1 in the chat if you still have questions. Put a 2 in the chat if you feel confident that this was just a freak accident. I'm very curious what you think. Yeah, I figured because I feel it's interesting. I actually feel both ways at the same time, if that's even possible. Like, I cannot believe that she would just drive into this water. And let me tell you, I want to quote something real quick. Seeds of Hope, Naomi, I figured you were at 2. I've been teetering between 1 and 2, like, for the last 24 hours or so. Let me read this to you. So when Steve, the investigator, who has been in that area dealing with the family, Kiely Rodni's family, when he was asked, what his opinion is, what he thinks, like, how did this happen? He said it would be a colossal mess up for her to leave the way she did. Because remember, he knew the lay of the land. He had gone through that area. He'd been searching for days. He didn't see any of her friends show up to search. He also spoke, kind of circumvented the question a little bit, but he did touch on the fact that allegedly, I'm not going to say this is fact, but he did touch on it. And you'll hear that in this interview, about her being in the back seat buckled up. Now, I thought all day long, oh, that's just rumor, that's just speculation, that's just more bad information. I thought all of that. But when I heard him address the question and he said, I can't exactly address that. It sounds like news is already getting out about that. It's sort of right there validated that maybe that's a true story. Like maybe she really was in the back seat. And that struck me as extremely odd. Another thing that will be brought up is the window. If it was broken, he spoke on that for, briefly, and said that when Adventures with Purpose was there, they had an initial plan to extract this car. Well, when the FBI showed up, they had to sort of switch gears, change it up a little, and decided that they were going to roll the car in some method that they do, and that may have been what broke a window. He said he didn't think the window was broken, but when I look at this picture of the passenger, I think it's the passenger side, I'm seeing a broken window. Are you guys seeing a broken window? I'm just curious. Yeah, I understand that about a car. Okay, so I think Gina says a car that is forced into water ends up upside down, not normally if driven into water. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Small Wildflowers says, I don't think she was buckled up, but I think she was in the back, fighting for air and trying to get out. Oh, can you imagine the horror that she went through? If this truly was a freak accident, which I am considering, I'm definitely considering it. I keep wondering if perhaps she had taken some drug that was laced with fentanyl and it just knocked her out as she was driving. Like that seems like a reasonable what am I trying to say? Explanation. Duh. Sorry, guys. It's kind of late and I haven't slept much lately. I'm sure you guys, same thing. As we follow this stuff, you end up kind of missing out on sleep. I will tell you, Donna has talked to me a little bit about what she's seen. And I think that's what keeps me wondering if this was a one scenario. And it's not that she's saying like necessarily that this was for sure foul play, but it was like that somebody knows something. And she's touched on who she believes knows something. And I just find that so interesting because in my experience, she's been right on the money for the most part, time after time after time. So it's always interesting, what she channels, I guess is the right word. Hello, Bedtime Stories with Bella. How are you doing? Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. So let's talk for a few minutes if you want. Does anybody, how about this? I'll take like one person. I'm just going to do one panel guest who wants to come up. Let's limit it to like 5 minutes. And you tell me what you think. I want to hear your input. And then after that, I will start playing what I have for you tonight. You guys want to do that? Shall I put the link in the chat? Let's see. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and release this link. One person, 5 minutes. Let's keep it around. And you tell me what you think happened. Here we go. And they're literally, let's see. AWP has a video showing how a car flips over in water. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Okay, Danielle is here. Hi, Danielle. How are you?
Hello, how
Hello,
are
how are
you?
you? Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for being here. What do you think might have happened?
Um, I think that well, for one, I have a few questions. Like, how the party was so close. How did they not hear anything?
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did like you would think they would hear or see her lights go in there? Something you would hear, right?
That's what I would think. Yes. And I was talking to my husband about that last night. I'm going, how did nobody hear anything? Or let's just say, see lights in the water, right? As you're driving somewhat near, wouldn't there be, you might see lights in the water? I don't know. That's just what I imagine, but who knows? But yeah, the sound alone, you would think they would hear something. It's just beyond me. I don't get it.
Right. They're saying it's echoing, so let me get my earbuds. Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, on my end, I can't hear you echoing, but if they're saying so, they're probably right.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't know they would echo.
no problem.
Um,
And in the meantime, I want to disclaim to the chat, like this is just open conversation. We are just speaking what's on our mind. Let's not get up in arms about the fact that we're talking about this. Like we shouldn't be demonized for discussing this case, you know? And I did see a comment earlier that said something like, they're early in the investigation, you shouldn't be talking about it, something like that. Guys, you know how I am. I want to talk about things and I want to talk freely and I don't want to be vilified for doing so. So if you can't handle speculation and talk, discourse and whatever, then this might not be the chat for you tonight. I hate to
okay.
get at you like that, but
Can
I need
you
to.
hear me better without an echo now?
I can hear you fine. Let me see what they're saying. Can you guys hear her fine? Is there any echo or anything?
Hello.
Yes, can everybody hear her?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, Danielle.
I just don't. I want to make sure it's just no echo. Okay, they're saying no
Okay,
echo.
no echo. Okay, good.
Okay, and then I was just gonna say, the fact that nobody heard anything, and then how Sammy said she was the last person, to see her and to talk to her. Um,
Yeah,
I find that odd too. How Sammy just. I mean, it could be nothing,
right.
but um, it like she just left town, within her.
I know.
She was talking to like everybody, and I'm sure because I heard her parents. One was a lawyer and one was a PI, so I'm sure they're like, you need a hush." Um,
Right.
but it seems like to me like Sammy knows something. I don't know, and I just can't. I wouldn't. Um, I couldn't imagine not one person seeing her,
I
like
know.
something her going into that water,
Right.
or
Right. That gets
hearing
me
it,
too.
or
Yep.
anything. I think they might have saw it or something happened, and I don't know what might have happened. I don't know. I'm not very for sure. Maybe you know how they say like they were doing boxing stuff and that's for fun.
Yeah, I thought that was really odd. And then we
Yeah,
fight over who the winner is. I'm like, what?
yeah, and
Do people
so
really do that? You
I,
know, I
I
just
mean,
remember that.
I never haven't. I'm
Neither of
32.
ours.
um,
Same here.
and so what if Sammy was fighting a girl and it got out of hand or something? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm just thinking of anything really, but then it could be just an accident. I don't know. It's just so sad.
It is so sad. And then I also think about how she says she last spoke to Kiely at 12:36, which is an impossibility, right? If her phone last pinged at
Yeah,
12:33.
yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Like, and,
Yeah.
and And it's like the thing too, what rubbed me kind of wrong is she always kept saying, whatever Kiely drank, I drank it too. We both
Oh,
drank the same
right,
thing. You
right.
know, it's like, why would you have to say that? What's the point of that?
That threw up some serious red flags for me. I was thinking, is she trying to, I guess, set the stage for, if something is found in Kylie's drink, well, then the same thing happened to her because they were sharing drinks, or you know what I mean?
Right. It
That's what
just,
it felt like.
I mean, that shouldn't even be. They obviously know she was partying, right? So
Right.
why would you even need to bring that up unless it was of some significance or so, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. And, I feel really bad. I need to say this while I can. I feel bad. I think I harshly judged Jagger, and I forget the fact that he's probably 18 years old. You know how our minds continue to develop even into our 20s. And I think I harshly judged him. And I don't think that was nice of me. And I want to apologize for doing that because that wasn't cool. If he
Well,
is innocent, if he really was not in the area, which I continue to hear he was not, he has an alibi and stuff. I feel terrible for being rude to Jagger. And that wasn't nice of me. So
well,
sorry guys.
I kind of, he was how he said, in the interview to her, like he told her, "Don't be stupid," like
Right.
in
Hmm.
a like you better not be hanging out with other guys, or you better not talk to another guy, like that kind of attitude, To
Yes,
me, that's what I kind of got, and he wasn't that far away. He could have easily driven
I
to
know.
Kiely and talk to her.
I
They
thought of that
maybe
too.
got in an argument, whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a million things that could have happened, but I definitely think that someone knows something for
Somebody
sure,
knows something. Yeah, absolutely.
and they're
Real
not
quick,
saying anything.
yeah, yeah, that's another thing that's
Yeah,
just beyond me. And what you're gonna hear tonight in this recording is that the guy, Steve, the investigator, he touches on, how could there be 300 plus kids there or kids and young adults
right.
and nobody spoke much about this? Like, why? Why wouldn't people talk about it? Like, why wouldn't they come forward? He said it was eerily silent throughout the whole town. People just were not discussing the whole party thing. I thought that was really weird. But then,
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, if you have
yeah,
no, I mean, it's just like, and just like a about Jagger. I mean, I don't, if he has an alibi, then he has an alibi, which is fine. And I mean,
right.
I don't know what to think about this because everyone in her circle seems sus, kind of,
Oh, I
and
tend to agree. Yeah,
it's just weird. It's like, if that's your ex boyfriend, and then that's your one of your best friends, or it's like, I would never, if something happened to my best friend, I would tell the cops anything and everything I knew, you
for
know
sure.
and
Hmm.
it's like, I don't understand how anybody could hold back any information, even if it was even if it would maybe put myself in a bad situation. I mean,
Totally.
at least
Yeah.
I would be truthful, and
Right. It's like it
you
comes down
know
to doing the right thing. You do the
yeah,
right thing, even
exactly.
when you're scared.
Yeah. And
Put your big underwear on and do the right thing, no matter what.
yeah, and it's just so sad for this family, and
Yeah.
like I said, it could be nothing. It could have been just her intoxicated and an
Right.
accident. But then again, I don't understand how she would have just. I mean, I guess it was dark, and maybe she took a wrong turn and just went straight in. I don't know, but
I
you
know.
would think, since the party, they said, was just like 50 feet from there, right?
I think it was within about 300 feet, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. Yeah,
Okay.
I could be off, but it was something like that, yeah.
Well, that's still not even far. And her
Oh, I
going
know.
out there, being familiar with that area, you would think she would know, kind of, even if she was impaired a little bit. But I guess being impaired, it does mess your judgment up a little bit.
Right, and if it
Or a
was, like
lot.
right, and if it was fentanyl or something, oh gosh,
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't even imagine.
that's killing people.
Absolutely it is, and she coulda nodded off right as she's driving and gunned the gas pedal and gone right in, that's totally a possibility.
Yeah, it's just so sad, and I'm just praying for these parents.
Oh, me too. I
I
can't imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't either at all. I mean, it's her. She's just 16, and she seems super smart, but
Yeah,
I used to hang out with. When I was younger, I went down the wrong path, and
yeah,
I found out those people weren't actually my true friends. Just like
yeah.
these people aren't helping, giving up any information for their friend. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? And so I
absolutely.
changed my life around completely. And now I have true friends and that
Awesome.
will be there for me and count on me. And it's just like, that's just not, and I know she's young. Don't get me wrong. It's not wrong to party or anything, but you
Yeah,
just need to, you always need that, like they say, that call it the buddy support or whatever, a buddy
mhm.
system thing, you
Right,
know,
right.
and especially for a young girl. And I would never go to a party, and I think it's wrong of Sammy leaving her by herself if that's true.
I do
Even
too.
I mean, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. My whole mind is just
It's
like,
so
ah,
confusing, isn't it?
yeah, because there's so many questions, and it's like, what? Why are these people being quiet? And it's just all of these things. It's just like it has my mind just always thinking constantly, and I just,
Yeah.
I saw that picture of that grandpa sitting out there. Even
Oh,
that
yeah.
when AWP found out the car was just there. He said, I'm not leaving until she's
Mhm.
out. And that picture,
Heart-wrenching.
I mean, yeah, it just
It is.
was, I mean, picture made me cry because, I lost my fiance to an
Oh,
overdose
oh,
9 years ago.
wow. I'm
Yeah.
so
So
sorry.
it's okay. I mean,
Wow.
it's been 9 years. It was rough, but I've made it.
Only imagine.
I the only thing that sucks is my son. It was my son's father, both of my sons. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
Wow.
so that's why I turned my life around. But
Good for
so
you. That's a
yeah,
noble thing to do, you know?
yeah,
You
but
realize you had to rise to the occasion for your kids, and you
oh
did so.
yeah, and I mean, we were young. I was, I had a kid young, and I was he died at 26, and I was 24, and
That is so young. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean, he was the love of my life. That's all I knew. I dated him when I started at 16 through high school and everything. And so I didn't know what to do. And so I got off on the wrong end and hanging out with the wrong people. And I'm so glad I've got to where I'm at. Like, I've been with the right people now for like 4 years. But
Good.
um, it's just, I don't know. I would never go back to that. I couldn't imagine it, now.
Yeah.
And I just pray for people who are in that situation. It just a lot because I know how it was, and especially being teens, how things can be so tempting, or your
Mhm.
peer pressure. And I mean, things
Mhm.
are getting crazy for nowadays.
They
And
really are. I
for
know.
it like freaks me out because my son's 15.
Oh, I know, I have a 14-year-old. I'm just freaking
Yeah,
out thinking, "What is he gonna see in his lifetime?" Because stuff is getting crazier and crazier by the minute.
so bad, and it's scary. But all
It is.
right, I will get off of here because I know I've talked way too long. But
No, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming up, Danielle. Thanks.
absolutely, thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and add Bree Bree, and then after that, I'm going to start playing this clip. Oh, did I add her? Hold on. There she is. Hey,
Hey
Bree
guys,
Bree. How are
Yeah.
you?
Oh, I'm good. So I've been following this since obviously she went missing.
Yeah.
And one of my concerns is, do you think that they are going to rule this an accident? Like there's not going to be set like as such a thorough investigation in terms of what gear was her car in, was the
Yeah.
toxicology, was the autopsy rushed? That's kind of my concern because I feel like all of the photos that they have released, it kind of looks like all these kids are looking at something. And
Mhm.
everybody's videos on YouTube, in terms of, oh, I was there, I had family that was there, there have been reports that, all these kids left around 12:30.
Oh, I
There was
know.
there was like a mass caravan of all these cars leaving. So I find it like, okay, obviously someone knows something. So I
Yeah.
feel like, you know, and this sounds kind of spooky, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of like spiritual readings and spiritual
Yes,
like
they sure are.
boxes.
Yeah.
And you know what? And you know what? They all are saying a lot of the same stuff. And the name
I know it
Steve
is.
keeps popping up. And there was one gal, I can't remember her name or else I'd, shout her out. But there was one gal who she was, she got like a Instagram handle,
Uh-huh.
sent to her of someone else with a description of what Donna Serafino was saying.
Okay.
And so there's like a name Steve going around, but Steve is the PI.
It is
And
the
I feel,
PI, yeah.
yeah, and you know what? I feel like it's really suspicious that AWP went out there and they were like, no, you don't have to search here. We already searched here. And AWP said, that's what they said. And obviously they're
Um,
not, trying to lie. They're not trying to do anything like that.
mhm.
They wanted to find her and they did. And so I just feel like, is that so far? Am I in conspiracy land? Am I down the rabbit hole?
I've wondered the same thing. I'm hoping that because the FBI and, the local law enforcement and stuff, and even what is it? Hold on. Highway Patrol, CHP,
HP?
yeah,
Yeah.
CHP. CHP is also did their own little investigation as well, which you guys are gonna hear in this recording, a little bit about that. Um,
Okay.
I feel like they're really taking it from the position of it being a homicide so that they make sure and cover all their bases. That's what they
Yeah.
have to do,
See, that's
and
kind of what I'm hoping
yeah,
for. I know a lot of like, I know it sounds so spooky, but I feel like all these spiritual people are saying the same thing,
they
you know,
really are. I know.
and it's like, oh gosh, when are we going to listen? So I'm honestly just hoping and praying that they don't rule this an accident prematurely.
Mhm.
And
That's what my concern is too.
I think that that is probably like the heavier side of all of these things.
Mhm. I thought it was interesting too, if you notice with the people who have been doing the, like, psychic readings and whatever, they
Yeah.
all said water. They all said
Yeah.
water. I didn't hear
Yeah.
Donna say water, but I did hear her talk about, that she saw Kiely and this Steve, and the Steve she's referring to is actually a friend of Kylie's.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
and there was another gal. Gosh, if I find it, I will send it to you as best as I can. I'm not good with technology, but if I find it, I'll send it to you because
okay.
she got a step net 306
Mhm.
was what was coming to her. I don't know if you saw that.
Okay.
And then it
Interesting.
ended up being someone who knew Jagger and Kylie that was into the like board, water and snow boarding type of
Okay.
situation that had pictures and like the tags of Kylie and Jagger, who knew both of them.
So interesting, isn't it? It's always bizarre how this stuff
I
works out.
know,
And I
gosh,
know people are so skeptical, and I get it.
yeah,
I was too until, I've said it a million times, but until I saw Donna plenty of times give
yeah,
clues that only law enforcement knew. But,
yeah,
I'm amazed because I feel like they always pick up the story before, you know, the law enforcement kinda gets
yeah.
at it. And I
And
know
you
that's
know
gonna
what?
upset people to hear me say that, but I've observed that. That's God's
Hey,
honest truth.
second, babe. Sorry.
Oh, no
Sorry.
problem.
I
Yeah,
gotta
no
shut the
problem.
hubby out for a second. But yeah, and there was another gal who she went with all of this and she was like, I'm at the edge of the earth, deep down, basically got so many different clues. And this was maybe like, it was posted like 5 or 6 minutes before they found her. And she's like, I hear a boat. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'll have
interesting.
to send it to you. I
Wow.
will do my dang
Okay.
best, but
Okay.
my little baby is screaming and he needs me to
No
put him to
problem.
bed.
I
But
know how
thank
that
you for
goes.
taking my call
Absolutely.
to me.
You bet. It was so good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Okay, guys, you want to go ahead and start listening to this recording? I think you're going to find it interesting. Let me get it. Just a second. Okay. Okay, Danielle says, I was just fine with it. Would love to listen to all of it if we could. I know. I just think that probably people are going to be like, okay, this is like, it's a little slow at first, but it does get very interesting. How about this? I'm going to go to 25 minutes in, and I would say it really kind of starts to get to be a little bit more of interest for people. Okay, here we go.
Daniel, her father, agreed to go.
Actually,
and you just asked me, like, tell me what you think, Steve. Like, tell me, we started chatting, and he I'm guessing about 1:30ish. I ran across David, who that's her grandfather's name, and so we started chatting, and he is he's a really cool guy. He's super nice. He's a listener. He takes in everything. He's really, like, he's soft spoken, but you can tell he's really smart and just super nice guy. And you just asked me, like, tell me what you think, Steve. Like, tell me, be honest with me. He's like, I just want the truth, and he would ask about certain things, which I'm not going to go over the individual things. So we were out there, maybe 20 minutes. I had run across him, and then a guy in a quad runner pulled up, and because he had he had a pistol and like a bulletproof jacket on. I figured it was law enforcement, and who I hadn't seen out there yet, but I thought maybe because Ventures of Purpose was out there, and I had a drone up a little bit earlier, they were coming to say something, but he took his helmet off and ended up being Daniel, who is her father, and who's Kelly's father. So now, so this is not, they're not father and son. This is Kylie's mom's dad, and then Kylie's birth dad. So they were father-in-law and son-in-law at one point. And so then I realized it's him, and so the three of us we sat and talked for quite a while, and they're like, you can just tell that they're so confused, like, what the hell is going on? Like, where's our daughter? Where's our granddaughter? And I don't have any answers for them. I'm just like, listen, that I do a lot of this, and I can never answer. I don't know. Like, asking where could she be? I'm asking the same questions. I don't know. I just tell them, I'm like, I can tell you that I've personally worked cases where people that have been missing and they're found, and but I told them, I said, it's serious that law enforcement's very convinced that pain came from around the water area. And I said, that's serious, and they knew that, and throughout different questions, over the whole week, David would tell me, he's like, I appreciate the information. I appreciate, he said to me, he's like, this is the most information I've gotten out of anybody since this whole thing began. He said, I've not getting information, and that was a big point of frustration. And so the three of us are sitting out there, and there was a discussion about a part of the actual party area, and we decided we wanted to see if we could find the exact trees in the photos that have been released from the party. There's like those 3 photos. So I messaged, people that I work with on the team through Discord, and said, can you please, because I'm dealing with them. I don't want to be thumbing through them. If I don't have Discord on my phone. I know everybody probably does it that way. I do it on my laptop, and I didn't want to set up my laptop with a hotspot out there and whatnot. So I said, I sent a message to DX. I said, can you grab the party photos from Discord and text them to me? And then that was like, so 2:11, and then so at that point it had been a little while of a wait. I was having the message wasn't going through, so I ended up setting up my hotspot, and then I did log into my laptop, and then I asked, and at 2:19, these are all time stamped. I called DX with Kiely's dad and grandfather on speaker, and said, I told her why we need those pictures, and could you send them as soon as possible, just because, they're antsy. They want to, and so she sends, the pictures get sent to me, and we're talking, we're going over like a couple of these trees are distinctive, and we're trying to figure out the distance between them so we know what to look for, because we're going to go up the hill. And now we're on this like road that kind of goes all the way around like the party end of the where the party was, that wraps around to that diamond little beach area there where the car was found. We're up on a fire road up above, and so you can see like a tiny portion is not cut off of like where Adventures with Purpose is working down there. And so at 2:48, I was standing there talking to them, and I got a call from DX, and I could just tell by the way she said hello that I instantly knew that Kiely had been found, and sorry, she was kind of dragging, didn't really want to say it, and I just said, just say it, just read it, just tell me. And she read the statement that had been found, and so I had my back to them at that point, because I knew something was off, and I kind of walked a few feet off, and I could see Adventures with Purpose were setting up cones around the area, and then there's a lot of people out at Prosser, and there's a lot of people that were there to specifically watch Adventures with Purpose, and I could see people coming down the tree line, and so I knew that word was out, and I hung up and I told them, and it was I just had to tell a father and a grandfather that their 16-year-old daughter and granddaughter was gone, and she was in water, and it was just really hard to do, and it shocked them, even though I think they knew, and it was about 200 yards to where they were at. We rushed over there. That's just the purpose. They didn't know who we were. His father was running down. They kind of came out to stop us, and I think they thought that it was from social media. And we told them who we were, and they were great. They were super comforting. There was no celebration or anything going on their end. That was very sad, and they showed me proof of the car and Kiely, and I told told David and Daniel that it's the car, and there remains inside, and which they knew, and there was no. I see these accusations of trying to, like, somehow I'm proud of being the one that told them. It was one of the worst moments of my life, and people making those accusations, I think, need to have they need to have a basis for doing it. I know I did the right thing. If I didn't, I would have had that knowledge, and somebody would running down the hill would have been like, "Did you hear she's found?" As they're going to look and check it out. I can't sit on that information. It was put out there as a statement that the car was found and Kiely was found inside. I'm not going to call 911 and be like, I have some news to tell somebody. Can you come out to Prosser Dam Reserve? That's not the way life works. I don't care if people think that law enforcement should have notified them. Then maybe law enforcement should have been out there when they knew that there was a sonar search going on. If that was the case, there was not one law enforcement presence in the entire park. So we Doug from Ventures of Purpose, myself, David and Daniel went down by the short line where the buoy was out there, where Kiely was at, and he told us how they found it, and he he explained that he hopes this brings some closure to the family, but obviously don't want this to be how things go. And then we had some talks about Kiely and how this could happen, which I'll keep private. And then after about 20 or 25 minutes, law enforcement people started showing up. And they asked, they said that they wanted David and Daniel to go to the CHP building. Daniel, her father, agreed to go, and David said, I'm not going to leave my granddaughter. Not until I see that car. I'm not going to leave my granddaughter. And he said, please don't make me leave her. And they agreed. And then he said, please don't make him leave. I need him here. And to me, and I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to witness any of this, but I was more than willing to be there for him. And that's why I stayed. As soon as David, as soon as we saw the nose of the car coming out, he just wanted to see, the car. He didn't want to see her. And we left, and the rest of his family was across the lake on the shore. He went and met them, and I went and checked out my hotel. But there was about 4 or 5 hours period of time that we were there. And for all the people that are saying that I'm not a private investigator, I'm not a real private investigator. I'm running a scam. I'm doing this, even though I've never billed a penny in my life for private investigation work. I just want you, and the people that are calling law enforcement saying this, I want you to know that CHP, Prosser County Sheriff's Office, Nevada County Sheriff's Office, FBI, and the FBI card team, Kiely and her family out of it, please. Stop calling them or emailing them. Stop calling law enforcement to try and verify facts that they know about. Do you think that they not notice that I was there 5 hours inside of a crime scene? They know exactly who I am. Okay, so that's basically all I have.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Yes. We have Sarah up here. Do you have any questions, Sarah? Sorry, I'm trying to get it together.
I don't. I just want to thank Steve for his time and his everything. I mean, it's emotionally draining, obviously, for him. Being put in that situation is never easy, and I am so sorry for the people who are trying to drag you just because they do not like you. You know who you are. The majority of us know who you are. We know your heart, and I am glad to be able to call you a friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to say to the moderators, I don't, you don't need to block or not let anybody up here because you think that they might have some negative to say. I don't care. I'll take questions from whoever. I have no idea who's in the chat. I'm not looking at the phone. So,
yeah, that's fine. I'm going to invite people up for questions. Okay. I do mind.
I don't know
people
if
are.
People to,
yeah. If everybody wants to request the mic, that's okay. We'll let you up for questions. Just don't be rude. Don't interrupt anybody. Please don't.
And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Hey.
Hello. Hi, Steve. I just wanted to say thank you so much for going out there and being there for the family and doing what you do. We all really appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Steve, I know that was one of the hardest things you've ever had to do. I just want to say that, I mean, it was meant to be for you to be out there with them, as ridiculous and horrible as that was. I think them hearing that news from you instead of them finding out on social media, I'm glad that DX called you when she did, because I fear that things would have gone a lot worse if you hadn't been there. So bless you for being there for them. Bless you for caring enough, and everything that you do out of the goodness of your heart is much appreciated.
Thank you. And one of the reasons that worked out too is that as soon as law enforcement did get there, they crime scened it off, and they didn't. That's why other members of her family, including her mom, could not come down. That's where Kiely was at. We remained inside there, but if I had not told them, they would have seen obviously the social media post, but I don't think they would have not probably had an opportunity to talk to Doug right away. And Doug was incredibly caring and compassionate, and they, and people can say, I'll let them speak for themselves, but I can tell you from the conversation that David and Daniel were incredibly grateful to Adventures with Purpose for finding her. Even though that they didn't want that news, they got that closure, and they probably wouldn't have, because if the car hadn't been found by then, the search was scaling back. I don't know when it would, for these trees.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And knowing that when they could just go down and where the person they're looking for is at, so.
Yeah. I think Leslie is next. She didn't raise her hand, but.
Oh, I have to do it. I'm sorry. Steve, thank you. This had to be so incredibly painful and difficult. To have your integrity questioned is awful. And I know that we're all grateful for everything that you've done and that you're speaking with us tonight. My question, because you're there and have been around so many people and you've seen the lay of the scene, what's your gut say? What have you heard? Is this just an awful accident, or is it something else? What does your gut say?
So, I'll just kind of tell you like what I've observed. I don't know if I want to get into gut feelings, but it would be very deceiving too by looking at it on Google Earth or Google Maps or whatever. Those dirt roads have like huge potholes and like these ravines where like I was in SUV and like I would have to put it in sand mode to get through some of these ravines. So you're not going more than 5 miles an hour at any time, or you're just gonna crash the car into a ravine on the road. Those are not like, so coming into the park initially, you're on asphalt, but to get to the party location and out to where the car was, you splinter off onto this dirt road that has a big no cars sign at it. But if you look at it, it actually says under it in small print, says cars not recommended. So they're trying to get people not to go out there, but you can go out there. So that's a road that you split off and you go down. And then as you're going down that, when you're about 3/4 of the way to where the water would be, you would take another right onto a different smaller road that goes up through the trees, and that's back where the party was. If you continued going straight on that, then you kind of make this like hitch, go left and then right. And if, let's say, you're drunk, and I'm not saying that she wasn't, by the way, like if you kept going straight, you would hit these bushes that would immediately stop the car. And then to get down onto that point, that peninsula, then you have to take a left and go down this really, it's not really steep, but it's a short, steep thing. And then it goes flat for, I don't know, 100 yards or so till it hits the water line. I mean, flat with a tiny like decline. However, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but that is the point, the exact point that points to the very middle of the lake. So it would be a weird sequence of events to get there. And one thing that her grandfather told me, so Cold Creek or whatever, that road, that 4-mile road, is an unkept dirt road. In fact, he said in the winter, like she would stay at somebody else's house a lot of times for long periods of time during the winter because that road gets snowed in. It doesn't get plowed. So like they're back there for, they're back there. But it's a really brutal road. To be honest with you, it's just like, puddle up puddle. He said that, he said she's been driving that road, because it's kind of a private road, for a long time, obviously before she was 16. There's also like these train tunnels at the back of the property that have water like quarter of the way up you can drive through. He said that so she's experienced, she snowmobiles, so she's experienced with these off trail roads, so listen, I don't think anybody is saying that there wasn't drinking going on. I don't think you're gonna find anybody saying that. However, I don't think this is a secret. I don't think it's anything to give away because you can see it from the helicopter shot. If you notice, there's a solid black truck and trailer, and that was the FBI crime lab they brought in from either San Fran or Sacramento. It took several hours to get there. There was 3 different investigations going on. There was CHP, FBI, and Prosser County. They were all doing separate investigations. And I'm sorry, Nevada County, not Prosser. Prosser closed their investigation because they only had a missing person investigation open. So they're technically, this is Nevada County is the lead on it now, because that land is Nevada County in California, Nevada County in California. So there's three separate things going on. I don't, I think there was a reason for them to process it as a potential crime scene. I think that they wanted to make sure, So I'm not going to speculate. I know that people have been talking about the car when it came out of the water and stuff. There's a few things that do stand out. There's a couple that I think happened. They told us that they made a decision to roll the car in the water when it was still in the water, put it on its tires instead of dragging it on the roof because of where she was and damaging evidence. So I think when they rolled the car, they were doing it with the chain, attached to the tow truck. I think, you could get a little damage when they roll it underwater. So I think there's a little, I don't want to say which part, but there's part of the damage that I think was due to, because I did see pictures and video from it underwater. But there's, there's questions that need to be answered. And they have, one thing I told them was like, do some research on you got the best, you got the FBI and their car team. You got the best of the best out there, processing the car. And they were meticulous. They told us, they said, if you're waiting to see the car, this is going to be a very, very, very slow process. We are not going to screw anything up. So they sent divers in and filmed everything before they even touched the car one time. It was very methodical. They did a very good job, with that. And that went, I left, I told him, we've seen the front of the car. I don't want to see anymore. And, especially since I'd seen photos. And so we left, but I saw on the news, it looked like they were there till probably after midnight, so they did a hell of a job. And, it was a Sunday. There was a lot of FBI agents and everything out there. So people really were giving Kiely their best,
Go ahead, Lori.
Yes, I had two questions, but the first one was just answered. So the second question I have was, when they showed the raw footage of them pulling the car out, there was a rectangular area that was roped off, or crime scene tape roped off somehow. Or do you know what that rectangle was securing?
So that was part of CHP's investigation. So, like I said, there was three separate ones going on at the same time. So I think some were focused on different things and theories and whatnot. And I don't want to say too much about that. I can tell you there wasn't something inside of, in other words, there wasn't a physical piece of anything that was in there. I think that was more an area where they think something could be a critical injunction point. Because what you don't see in that picture is there's other things leading up to that square box. So I think that was more like a marker, because they were then they were photographing it and putting measuring sticks and stuff, you could see the height, because there's that drop off at the very end that goes into the water. And I think they were trying to get height, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I don't want to guess, but I could see they were holding measuring sticks and whatnot. And I think CHP has some really high tech, angles of attack type of thing, when cars, do things or roll or whatever, And so I think that was more of a area of significance. It was not a piece of evidence that was found.
Okay, thank you.
Leslie, did you have a follow-up question? Oh, okay. You know me, I can always talk. Yes, because of like you were talking about the difficulty in driving and stuff like that. As far out as the car was, do you think that that car was traveling at a fairly high speed for it to be that 55 feet from shore? I was curious about that. And if anybody had said the bottom of it, was it a sloped bottom, something that drops off? Something that explained, I was surprised that the vehicle was that far out. I think they were too.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I kind of was too, because when you get to that, so I had walked. I had a pretty good idea. So I was staying at the same hotel as all the law enforcement agencies, outside agencies were staying at. I had a pretty good idea where the cell phone ping came from. It wasn't official, but so if you notice, I don't know, for those that looked at the drone footage, I shot a lot of footage in that finger of water, like just if you're looking at it from the shore where the buoy was with the car, just to the left of that, there's like this finger of water in it. And I shot a lot of footage over that. And so I can tell you, I've walked that shoreline a lot. And I mean, you just hit points where you go basically to your knees. You sink. It's really like muddy and gooey. And so I was surprised that the car was that far out. And what I was really surprised at, because the first time I heard it, is when they said today during the press conference that the lake had dropped since the 5th, like he said between 1 and 3 feet, but that, maybe I heard it wrong, but then he said that that 1 or 3 feet of water drop could mean 15 or 20 feet of shoreline. So if that's the case, that means the car went even further, and it also means that the area they marked off is kind of meaningless, I think. But so I don't know, that kind of, I don't know. I'm just thinking. I don't know what that, if that was said properly when he said it dropped 1 to 3 feet, but then it was like that equals 15 to 20 feet of shoreline. You can tell.
It's called trigonometry, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I failed that.
All right.
I failed that for sure. But yeah, so anyway, so if that's the truth, then that if there was an extra 15 or 20 feet of water, then it went even further. And also areas that they were exploring, I don't see how they were of significance, because they would be 15 feet, But I don't, again, I don't know. They were not, I can tell you that they were not giving us details about the specifics of their investigation or what their theories were or anything like that. I have no inside information on that. I have some inside information because I've seen the vehicle before it was pulled out and went up, but I'm not going to give that out, obviously. But they didn't share anything. They had liaisons that were coming and checking on David because by this point Daniel had left to go on CHP and he wasn't allowed back in. So, besides that, they would come over. A head from each agency came over and introduced themselves, and they would take me aside and get all my information and my credentials, and then because I wasn't family and why I was there, and then but they wouldn't give us any, like, they didn't speculate. They listen. David had all those questions, like, what happened? Did somebody do this? Did she accidentally do this? And they would just say, we can't. One of the guys said, we can't connect the dots until we collect the dots. That was exactly what he said.
That makes sense to me.
I think you're absolutely right about connecting the dots. It's kind of like the time when you accused
Tyler,
me
I
of being a
swear to
rape.
God, you are gone. Bye, Tyler.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I kind of knew it was going to happen, but Steve told me to invite him.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't care. I mean, that just kind of shows like who's who.
Exactly. We do have some questions also for people that did not want to come up and speak. Let me just break that up for a minute. Somebody said that someone on Facebook posted screenshots of your drone footage saying they see the car. Is that actually where the car was?
Okay, so I I don't know which one they're talking about because I just recently, or just in the last couple of hours, saw another post, but it's from like the 20th that I had not seen before, but it was from Coldstream, and I was shocked. It obviously it wouldn't have anything to do with Kylie's case, but it looks like a car for sure. I know there was some people talking about the one right on that point, and it's kind of convincing. Like I've seen people present it to me in different ways. It's about 30 feet probably from the actual location of the car, but there is a current. So the winds come through at about 30, I'd say about 30 miles an hour at night. So there is I don't know and I don't know what the bottom's like. I think it's really that like volcanic ash soot, because like I said, I would sink so much, but I don't know if the car would move, or I don't know if the whole bottom kind of moves around with it, and that could have been the car, and it drifted more towards the center of the lake. It I don't know, you start seeing things. I can't say. I know that people said that there was tips called into the tip line with the footage, and they also aren't saying if they say that they follow up on everything, but they don't disclose if they think it's anything or not. So I don't know if that helped them get to that point out there or not. I have no idea. But I do appreciate everybody taking the time to scrub through that footage, because I just was so tired at night and had getting ready for the next day. I didn't have time to scan through it, and so much better having like a couple hundred people scanning it, and that's just not something I'm good at anyways, because my ADD, like it just I'll miss everything. So thank you for everybody that took the time to do it. I mean, those are the things that like people do in these communities that are absolutely just as helpful as anybody being like that's just as helpful as me walking around in bushes looking for something. I mean, that very well might have alerted the people, if somebody were to look, were to dive for the car. I don't know. I mean, obviously this doesn't tell me, but so people that did that, volunteer their time just as much as anybody else in this case. That is searching. I mean, it truly is. It's just aerial footage. So thank you to everybody that did that.
So, Steve, I was the one that asked that question. The reason I was asking was, they were circling it in your drone footage, and it does look like a car, but what Adventures with Purpose said that it was flipped upside down, but in the drone footage it looked white, and you couldn't really see, like, I guess the land as to where it was. But aside from that, I want to say that I really, really think you are amazing, and you just broke me tonight with your story. And you being there with the family is just, oh my God, it's just, beyond words. And I don't know why you catch so much flack. I really don't, but I think you are wonderful. But anyways, so aside from that, the only reason I was asking about the other is because the woman who was circling it it's almost like she's saying that she sent them out there, almost like she deserves reward money. And I don't really care who gets it. I know Adventures with Purpose, I think they give it to the family or whatever. But I was kind of curious as to if that was even where you were using your drone.
So I used the drone two places. When I was at Prosser, which is the lake where she was found, reservoir, I was flying it on that point where she was found, and to the left, this little finger of water kind of comes to the end in a weird shape, because I had information that that's where the cell phone ping came from. So yes, the footage. Now the Coldstream is pretty distinctive because that's a pond. It's like a small, like maybe 200 yards long. You could, in other words, when I'm shooting it, you could see both the edges pretty much. So if if it's from Prosser, then it's right in the area where the car was found. I saw one.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. I just want to ask you guys, how are you liking it so far? I know it's a little bit slow. It kind of takes a minute to get into, but you kind of hear a little bit of the background and the stuff that we didn't know. And we really, it might not be confirmed for a while, actually. But you kind of hear it from the horse's mouth. He was right there. He was on the ground for 6 days in that area. So I figured it would be, at the very least, kind of interesting to listen to. Hello, Mountain Girl. Hope you're doing well. Welcome. And also, I need to acknowledge some super chats that I got. I really thank you so much. Also, if you want a personalized thank you note from me, I would like to send you one. If you can send me via email, which I'll post, if you want me to send you an email, or not an email, an actual snail mail thank you note, I would like to do that. So I'm going to post my email down here. If you want a personalized note from me, send me an email. Let me put that in right now before I forget. Okay. And let me find them. I know they were back here just a little ways. I know one was Francis. Thank you so much, Francis, for your super chat. I really appreciate it. And the other one, I don't want to miss. Just a second. Mom of 457 Rose. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you so much for being here. Anyway, do you guys want me to continue, do 30 more minutes and call it a day? What do you guys think? We're a team here. We talk things out. I want to, do what everybody wants to do. Really allows us to know what it was like there. I agree. That's why I found this very interesting. Okay. So 30 more minutes, we'll say, and then we will reconvene. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do 30 more minutes. Here we go.
Whoever they think they need to ask, like, was it used? I have zero information. Like, I don't think anybody out there, no law enforcement agency brought up the drone footage. However, I will say that it got a little contentious with jurors finding it so quickly. There was some questions asked a few times how it could be missed. And it was when those questions were asked that all of a sudden there seemed to be, all of a sudden these new questions came up about who got notified when. It kind of seemed to almost, I guess, divert from another narrative. I think, listen, I think that there's probably a little frustration going on that on one end and maybe a little embarrassment on the other. And but I don't think they should be, embarrassed. I mean, they really put in a hell of an effort. Everybody did, and it is. I can see how you could miss it, but I think that when people start, I don't know. I can understand why the family's frustrated. It took so long to find her. I can understand everybody's point in it. I really can, and I'm just staying out of the whole reward thing and everything.
Right. Well, I made a comment to Rose the other day that, I live on a lake, and right now I live in Alabama, and our lake is so dry. I mean, our docks in our neighborhood is on dry land. And if we try to put a kayak or even, my husband's John boat in it, you sink like almost knee deep in mud. And I just don't get why there wasn't tire tracks or unless she was going so fast that she had to be airborne or something. I don't get that.
I don't either. And the thing is I know that there's a lot of people that are saying, and keep in mind I was not there the night of the party, obviously. I didn't get there until like 5 days later. A lot of people were talking about rain. However, I looked at the historical rain. I looked at the historical weather, and I don't believe there was any rain that night. There was, and there wasn't even that much during the day. There was like a shower, like if you look on the historical data, there was a brief period, but the low was like 64 degrees or something like that. So that confuses me too. Why is there no physical evidence? Because keep in mind, they're out at Prosser starting the next day looking, because they know where this party was at. Why is there no physical evidence? And I don't know the answer to it. It seems like there should be. There was, like I said, I didn't get there like 5 days after. Like the second night I was there, it did rain pretty hard for a couple of hours, but that's almost a week after the car goes missing. So there's already been the majority of, the intense searches. And keep in mind, the first day they were using helicopters, and they were shooting video from the helicopter. So I hope that they have maybe they have evidence of tracks, but it's bizarre. This whole case is so bizarre. There's so many weird things to it.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Steve, I have quite a few people messaging me questions too, so I don't want to breeze past it. I know PhD.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So one was, Kiely, and you don't have to answer this because this is very personal, and I don't know if you even know the answer, but was Kiely brought up in the car or separately? Like, I guess there's been some chatter that she was removed from the car. I've just recently seen that before they took the car out of water.
I'll be honest. I can tell you when the car was found. I know for a fact. Because I've seen stuff. She was in the car. And I know people are going to ask about where she was in the car, and I'm not going to answer that out of respect for the investigation and for the family. I know that people like that sucks. Like, why can't you say? But I guess I would say those clues are probably. I left as soon as we saw the nose of the car and he was willing to leave. I left. I did not want to see that part. There was originally talk of possibly removing her before, depending on how the car did coming out. And I don't, and then I know it changed. They weren't going to do that because they didn't want to touch anything. I don't know how it, I just don't know the answer to it. It could have gone either way. I know there was discussion of both ways, but I don't know how it ended up.
And then also from.
Hold on, I have to pause that for a second. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Jackie Kerr, for your very sweet super chat. It means the absolute world. She says, thank you, sweetie PieLo. This is so interesting. I'm so glad you are playing it. Love your channel. Thank you for being here. And what he's talking about right here, she brought up about the positioning of where Kiely was in the car. And it also comes up a little bit later in this. And that, I think he kind of almost goes into a little bit more detail there because he does speak on it again. Maybe the person didn't hear the first question. I have no clue. But if you notice where the tarp ended up, I'm pretty sure from the pictures I've seen that the tarp ended up on the back end of the vehicle, which leads me to think that perhaps she really did end up in the back of the car. Not positive. That's my speculation. I might be wrong, but that's what I noticed. So I just wanted to go ahead and answer that, and I will carry on.
The party spot, like if you're standing up at the party spot, could you see from that area the spot that her car ended up?
No. You would literally have to go through.
I know there's like a ton of trees. Yeah.
You'd go through a forest of trees. So she at least would have to go a good half mile and drive successfully on a dirt road between trees before she could yeah. There's no way to there's no open.
Okay, PhD.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi Boo. Hi Boo.
Yeah, Rose, are you ready?
No. So I just want to thank you also for being out there and intercepting that news for the family. Like, holy hell. I can't think of anything more devastating than having to go through that. So my two questions are, and I want to make it really super clear that I'm not asking this question. I'm not asking you in any way, shape, or form to comment on anything that you were shown or like personally saw. And I appreciate you like protecting the integrity of the case by not answering those questions. Outside of that, though, I'm just curious if the family had made any comments to you at any point prior, to the vehicle and Kiely being found about how, was she like really super adamant about her seatbelt, like in the car, click it, and we'll answer that one first and then I'll ask my next one.
I asked that specifically, and I don't think anybody knew the answer, or I didn't get. I didn't get a. I will say, by the time I asked that question, her father was already at the CHP building, so it was only to her grandfather who I didn't get a solid answer from. I did research that today to find out if that car has that the buzzers or whatever that sound. And I also was trying to find out if it had a crash data recorder, which it appears that it does have a crash data recorder in the CRVs starting in 2012, and that was in 2013, if I remember right. I never found out if it had the thing where you'll get the buzzer if you're not wearing a seatbelt. So I don't know. I did try to find that out though, but he just didn't know the answer.
Okay, and second question. My ADHD was spiraling when you were giving the description of what I would presume, and we don't know this, but like in my brain, I'm just thinking that she made a right instead of a left, out of the party. Well, okay, so I guess I have a third question, but when you were describing the landscape and the potholes and the road and the consistency of the earth, were you suggesting that, I guess, is there any point in the last however many feet, I suck at this, 100 feet, whatever, of roadway, is it impossible for her to get, based on your experience on that road, up to 15, 20, 30 miles per hour?
So if you're talking about just that last 100 feet or so when you get on that, what I'll call like a peninsula, which is kind of like the diamond point, we're not right at the tip of it. That is relatively, that's almost shaped like a boat ramp. It's pretty hard packed. It's not the boat ramp. I don't want to screw people up, but that's the next like hill over. But yes, you could if you got down to that point. But the dirt roads leading to that and that lead to the party, those are not as straight as they look. So what they are is this is the whole place is an ATV off-road recreational site. So they have these ATV offloading areas. So those are ATV trails, really. So they got these and people jump and stuff. So it's like that type of terrain. And so if you made it, I don't know how she would. I guess what confuses me is you'd be driving. So she obviously made it that far, and then I think that gets to be that solid dirt, that is flat dirt that leads to the water there. I just got to believe. I didn't go look at it at night, so I don't know the answer. But I got to believe that it's pretty. You can see that black. The water black. I don't know. It would be a colossal screw up. Could it happen? Of course. I mean, if there was psychedelics involved, and I've nobody has told me that. It's just that I've seen certain profiles, that have like the stuff with that. Like, I guess anything could happen. It's just so confusing. Like, how do you go that far before something happens? Like, I would honestly think that the car would have rolled in the ravines or potholes before, if you're driving that carelessly. But this thing is a real weird case, and I think that's one of the reasons why they are doing it. They're treating it as a criminal investigation, not because they have proof of a crime, but just in case. They're just they're doing it to be safe, because I think everybody's stumped. I mean, I honestly did not think they were going to find that car in the water. I did not think the car was in the water. I thought that they cleared it. I was shocked where it was. I mean, that buoy in the pictures I saw, it looks even a little further out than it was. I mean, I was there the day before, and there was a couple swimming with their dog right on top of the car. I mean, right on top of it the whole day. So it was right there. And I did not think that the car was going to be found in there. I thought that, especially when there was the news that they had cleared the other lakes, and I was like, okay, it's just a matter of time. And then, bad news.
Okay, final question. Sorry. I can't figure this out from pictures, but I got a sense of you're driving down the road, and then on the right is the entrance to the party. It's like a long dirt road, it seems, that leads back into the middle of the woods. Where were all these cars parking for the party, though? Are they along the main dirt road, that little dirt road, or is there some kind of a lot back there near the woods?
So, at the actual party location, so that road that goes back there, the whole way along that road, you would have no problem parking a car on each side. It's pretty open because the trees aren't super dense, so you'd have no problem parking a car all the way along the road, one on each side. And then when you got to the actual party location, now if you look at those pictures, there's only 20 or 30 people in that. Then it doesn't, you could park a lot of cars in that party area. Plus, just on the other side of the road from the party area is kind of this other open area, and they were over there too. One thing I will say about the party location, it was really spread out. Like the first 3 days I spent searching, you find a lot of stuff out there. There was a lot of leftover stuff. So there was the main party location, but you could tell where people were splintering off in groups and going. Some people had gone all the way down, had walked down the steep hill from there, which you'd have to go through the trees, so no cars went that way. But people went down to the water. I was told there's people down the water. There was definitely people on the other side of, the dirt road. The stuff was spread for, a good block on each side, but the majority was there's this one, area where you can tell there's a barbecue grill at it, even that's been left out there. So, but there's no camping. So, the campgrounds are over by the boat ramp. This is an ATV, area. So, and this is just a road this road actually can connect all the way back to the 89. And I did it one time, but, and they did say that, people left that way and stuff, and people went a couple different ways. So there's not just one way to come into the park. There's actually two, but at the very end they connect to the same outlet. But you can loop all the way around, and it's kind of it's confusing. But it would be a long, slow ride because you'd be on that really rough road the whole time instead of being on the asphalt for the first mile or so, like you are.
Have any of Kiely's friends mentioned anywhere publicly, since I'm not on Facebook, have any of her friends mentioned where her car was parked that night? Was it parked out on the main road, and maybe that's why she was facing that direction and went that direction?
I have tried to get that same answer. I have been unsuccessful, and I know that at least the grandfather and father have not been able to get that answer either. That's something that was very much of interest to me and to them. I think they shockingly have. They're not getting information and sitting on it. They're not getting information. Now, I will say that I believe the mother is the lead, the person, the contact person for law enforcement, and I'm sure, and and said this, not everything probably flows down all the way. And I don't think he's just, it's a different lifestyle. And like, as far as like, he's just like, well, I'm told what's supposed to be told. And, so she might know that. I did not meet her. Just so everybody knows, I did not meet the mom. The whole time I was there, I never saw her. So I don't know. I did really try to get that information because I think that's a critical piece, like where she parked. I think it's got to be close to the main party area, just because they said they went back and forth to the car 2 times, I think, now to charge their phones. And if she was parked way down the road, I just don't think, especially when drinking, like you go back and forth twice,
Hey, I have a question too. By the way, Steve, my name's Tyler.
Wait.
Tyler.
We have to raise hands.
I'm so sorry. I
It's
just
okay.
hopped on. I wasn't sure how it works. I apologize.
It's okay, Tyler. We have one more person before you, and then you can ask
Thank
your
you.
question. No problem. I was going to call on Courtney. Hey, you've been waiting patiently.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Steve. Thanks for taking the time. I'm wondering the damage that we see to the car in the pictures, particularly like it seems like the driver's side window was broken, the mirror kind of hanging. Do you think that damage was done during the removal of the car or in some kind of accident prior to the car being found?
Okay, so like I said, I saw some imagery from before law enforcement got there. The car was sitting in an awkward position. However, I do not think that, and again, I can't be certain, but I do not think that the driver's side window was broken. When it was, I think there's a chance that some damage was done because they did say they made the decision to roll the car underwater. Because they were afraid. Originally, they said they told us, and this isn't like inside information. They came over and told us how the process was going to be. They said they were going to just drag it up on its roof, remove her right at the shoreline, and pull it up. And then the FBI team got there, and things changed to seemed to change a little bit. And then the decision was made that they thought it was safer to go ahead and roll the car with the divers. They were having the tow truck driver like make some like jerking movements with a chain, and then the divers were rolling the vehicle. I think there's a chance that occurred there. Now, I think you see some other stuff with the windows in the back and stuff, and that is, I believe, how you see it underwater.
And I just have one more quick follow-up. Obviously, we've heard there were like hundreds of people at this party. Do you think that, it might require speculation a little bit, but do you think there are or were any witnesses to what happened that just aren't coming forward for some reason?
I don't mind speculating about this because this really makes me mad. I something is wrong here. It is so silent in that town. You can feel it. Like, I was there 6 full days of searching. I think this happened on the 7th day. But I was there 6 full days searching. I never saw one or anybody searching or at the volunteer center. The times I ever went to the volunteer center, or anytime I drove by the volunteer center, there was not a person besides the volunteer who was manning the center working there. It just seems like.
Let me interrupt real quick. Hello to anybody who's just come in. Thank you for being here. Who you are hearing right now in the audio is Steve. He is the private investigator who was pro bono for the family. He was out in Truckee area for like 6 days total. So you're hearing his account of everything he saw, thought, everything. So that's who this voice, the person's voice that you're hearing is. I saw something I wanted to address real quick. Where was it? Okay, so what we're about to get into is some really interesting questions that all of us have been wondering about. And didn't you guys, excuse me, didn't you guys think that was kind of odd? I'm just going to say it, that the friends were not out there searching. I mean, you can't tell me that's not strange. That's not peculiar. If, for example, Naomi, if she's still in here, if Naomi was missing, I wouldn't stop. She's a great friend to me. I would not stop. Sammy said, "Oh, we won't stop. I'll search night and day," and all that lip service, right? But then she didn't search. I just find that peculiar. It's weird, right? It's strange. Anyway, I will carry on because we're about to get into some very interesting stuff. And John Q, I will add you here in a minute. Let me see here. Okay, hold on.
I don't know if it was a party I was at, whether I came with a person or not. I would have put in more than 5 or 6 days into this. It's eerily silent. Nobody seems to have been at this party. There's only these like 3 pictures that look like they're shot on film from the, Nirvana timeline. Something is very odd. I don't know how you get that many people to remain silent. I understand that. Okay, so at that time, but we're told, and this is a public statement, we're told that she calls at the 12:36 after the last ping somehow. She can hear she's still at the party because all the people in the background. So where are those people? Like she's lived there her whole life. People knew who she was. I know she was a couple of years age difference, but she didn't stay there completely by herself without knowing a single person, I wouldn't think. I mean, something is just very we need some. It's really frustrating to spend time out there searching for somebody, especially when they come up deceased and nobody is saying anything. And listen, and this is speculation. You're dealing with the best of the best now. You're dealing with FBI and the card team. Listen, there is, and now they have the car, and I have no idea if the phone was in there or not. That's not something they tell me, and I honestly have no idea. I'll bet you it was. So those people that do know, if they know something, law enforcement knows you know something now. Now you're really something to jam, I think. But I don't know. Maybe she just following some cars out of there and went the other way too. Maybe nobody did see her. I just find that hard to believe. But this could be a freak accident because I don't know how you get 18-year-olds to stay on a conspiracy theory script for this long either. You shut people up, especially when there's a $75,000 reward plus a Hellcat. I mean, that's like might as well be $1 billion to a 17-year-old, so it's a mystery.
Just one last thing, if I may. I've seen a lot on social media about her calling one particular friend, and there was some arrangement to drive that friend home. Did the family or anyone ever confirm that to you, or is that is that a fact?
Calling a friend, calling a different, to drive her home, did you say?
Yeah, I saw a friend had spoken out and said that she called her to Kiely had called the friend and said, are you doing okay? Can I give you a ride home? And the friend in an interview had said she had sounded too intoxicated, so she decided to get a ride with someone else or something like that.
Right. So that's the girl that was going. That's her friend that originally they were going to, ride home together, and then Kiely apparently sends the text asking if she can extend her curfew because they want to stay later at the party, even though it was a super scary party. And then they leave the car after that text, and then that girl decides that she's I think inebriated was the exact word. So she finds a different ride home, tells Kiely she's leaving, and 5 or 6 minutes after she leaves, Kiely apparently calls her 3 minutes after the phone last cell ping. Somehow she calls her and says, "Oh, hey, do you still need a ride home?" She says, "No, I already told you that I got another ride home," and she had left. So I don't know. It's bizarre. I think like there needs those need to be really worked out. Like what the real. I understand that these are kids and there's a lot going on and stressful situation, but those are such critical, points of we should act, to know, by investigators, to put this, puzzle together.
Right. Thanks so much for your insight, Steve. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
Hey, sorry I hopped on there earlier.
No, it's
Steve,
okay.
Okay, thank you. Steve, it's great to meet you. My name's Tyler. I'm a YouTuber who's been covering this case. I appreciate some of the drone footage and things that you've done. I've been following your Twitter page and everything. Can you answer, yesterday I was looking at some of the footage. There was an area that was roped off. It looked to be about the size of a vehicle. And there was 4 orange cones and then there was caution tape around it. Can you answer what that area was that was roped off yesterday?
Yeah, so they got asked earlier, but it's been a while, so I don't mind explaining it. So 3 separate agencies had investigations going on, and one of them being CHP.
Which is California Highway Patrol.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I live in California, so I forget. That's California Highway Patrol. And so they, a couple hours into the find, they were taking like measuring sticks and poles, and then they had a camera like up on the higher lane, and they were doing all types of measurements, and there was no piece of physical evidence that was surrounding. It seemed to be like an area of where maybe they think it was a significant like crossing point or something. And I'm not dancing around the question. I didn't ask them, and they didn't tell me, but I can tell you that I had walked in that area earlier, so there wasn't like
there wasn't anything there.
No. They seem to have all their stuff seemed to be very like mathematical based and like angles and stuff. So the measurements they were taking. So I have a feeling that was just I watched them rope it off, and I was like, oh, what is going on? But they didn't seem.
My thought was like that maybe they had a picture that was turned in, and they were thinking that her vehicle was parked in that location.
Well, for it to be parked there, it would be one hell of a hike to get up to where the party was at. It would be long, and it would also be steep, and you have to go through these like pricker bushes and stuff. So I can tell you that there was some like other outside of that box that what you can't see in the photo is there's some other like indicators leading up to it. So I think that's the spot where they think that maybe like there's an inflection point or something like that. Again, in what we heard at the press conference today is that the lake is dropped 1 to 3 feet. So they said there was actually another like 15 feet of shoreline at that point. So if that's the case, then I don't see how that's underwater. So I don't even know how it's a significant area. But I'm not going to question CHP either. It didn't make much sense to me, but I don't know the answer, like exactly what it was. But besides, I can tell you there was nothing physical in there.
Do you know when they pulled the vehicle out of the water, was it in neutral or drive?
I don't know. That was my very first question, actually, to Adventure to the Purpose, and they did not check that. If you see the underwater stuff, which I mean nobody will see, but I mean there's visibility, but for a diver, but it's not like substantial. So they didn't. The car was in a weird position, and so they didn't know. That was the first thing I asked in front of her dad and grandfather. I said, was it in neutral? And they didn't know. So that's good. That's probably the primary thing I would like to know.
It seemed like today in that press conference, law enforcement was upset at Adventures with Purpose. Can you help me understand that?
So there was some frustration out there.
It was obvious.
Well, okay, so first of all, about an hour in, Adventures with Purpose moved their equipment out. But I think, the family, rightfully so, is like, has some questions. Like, how is the car right there?
Yeah.
Like, how is it right there? And, like, because they were told, at least it was told to me, but they were told that this area has like been officially swept and it's clear, and like they were dialing back the investigation. So had Investors with Purpose not come, who knows what happened with this case? And then there was, it was said, it was like, how in 30 minutes is this car found? And that question got asked several times to those same people that you saw at the press conference that got asked yesterday to them with a bit of frustration. And I think that, and they, they said, like, well, we need to learn how Adventures with Purpose, what their technique was to find it that quick. So when that was happening and these questions got asked more than a couple times, then they came to me and to David and they started asking about the notification, not about how I notified, but about like, they didn't ask, they were making statements that like, oh, well, it was it was done by social media or something. And then, I heard, there's some stuff here I gotta be careful about, but, I think that, I don't think that,
so it had to do with how information about Kiely got out to the public.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's safe to assume that a call wasn't made to the mother. I think they're separating it, at least the family is, I believe, like the call with Adventures with Purpose, and they expected a call from law enforcement, and I know that expected call went quite a ways, and that got asked about. Then the narrative kind of they seem to go on offense a little bit, and that's what I saw today. I don't care if they're listening in on this. I don't think that was handled really well. I still haven't.
Me neither.
I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but I could be totally wrong on this. But I could have swore that the very last question was something like, "Has the family said anything about the thousands of tips that have come in," or something like that? And it was almost like, and then they said, the guy stepped in and said, "Okay, we're into the press conference here."
The last question that I heard, and it was on the video that I was watching, and it ended when they're asking about the team-to-team meetup, and they didn't answer.
I'm sorry.
The question.
Yes, you're right. And you're right. And then, so when the family stuff came in, I don't know. Like, I felt like it was very much a like, we're not getting credit for the work type of thing. And I think that's stuff that can be worked out down the line. Like right now, I mean, they just found her. I don't think Adventures with Purpose was trying to like take, I mean, yeah, they said, listen, we found her, we did our job, and I'm not saying law enforcement didn't do their job. They did, like when she was found, they were meticulous in their investigation that I saw. So, but I just felt like today was kind of like, and I felt even kind of at me, there was some shade thrown with the notification, the way they said the notification thing. Well, what was that family supposed to, how long were they when we left last night after her grandfather said, I just want to see the car and then we'll go. And that was good, I don't know, 6 hours or even there. They still would not say that, they're like, we can't say that there's, like we can't make a notification to you because we don't know if there's a person in there. I mean, well, they did know at that point. They're like, we just know there's remains. So, at what point would have they, I know that they made a notification when they were digging up a dog grave, but I don't know why, like how long it takes for them to how long would it taken for them to notify the family anyways, you know?
Well, I think a phone call takes about 10 seconds. That's the thing I didn't understand.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, at what point do they say, okay, we've got enough suspicion here that this is her, that we let the family know, hey, we're working a, you know, the car has been found, appears to be a body inside. I don't know when that called. Like,
well, to me, it was 1000% clear that they had told Adventures with Purpose, hey, you need to go search these other lakes because we've already cleared out Prosser. Our dive teams are focused on the 50 other ponds and lakes and streams that are around Prosser. And Adventures with Purpose from the jump wanted to go and search Prosser, and then they were basically told not to. And then they go and search it, and then within 35 minutes, they're able to find Kiely and the vehicle. Now, I have a lot of questions about that.
One thing, all right, so let me just correct one thing there, because, again, I don't want to pile on law enforcement, but, and I'll let Adventures with Purpose answer this, but that part I don't believe is accurate. Adventures with Purpose actually did want to search a different location. They wanted to start in a different order. And I'll let you ask them why, and I'm sure that they'll say why.
Well, they said it was because they'd been given a tip from law enforcement on their Facebook page.
About a different area?
They said that they received confidential tips, things that they're not allowed to discuss with the public.
So, and what I'm saying is, I know what that confidential tip is. So, and I can't say, and I don't think that they're definitely not going to say. None of us are going to say what that is. However, I think I don't think that they wanted to do Prosser first. I think there was a change of plans based on some confidential information that they received. Not that they didn't receive it from. They passed that on to law enforcement.
I see.
They're the ones who received.
So it was coming in through some of the work that you were doing.
No. I take no credit for that confidential tip. It was somebody. They came in town and actually went to some restaurants and some legwork. I think they started talking to people, and
I see. Okay,
that was they're 100% responsible for that and for the find and everything. But and the confidential tip, I didn't feed them. I didn't have any conversation with them prior to after it was announced that Kiely had been found. I'd never met them or anything, so I didn't give them anything. They did that all. They work. I mean, they have a great process, you know.
Oh yeah, they're very thorough. There's one more thing that I wanted to touch base with you on, and there's so many other YouTubers like me that are covering this case, and honestly, they were all going after different teenagers in this and painting them as victims, and I was standing up for the teenagers. I felt like I was a lone man out there on my own little island, sticking up for teenagers who have never had to deal with loss in a peer situation before, and were, having to process that. And I just felt like maybe that there was some misinformation about what was going on with the way that some of those local teenagers were handling the situation. Can you just share, what did the family think about the teen-to-teen thing, some of the other students that were involved in helping getting down to the bottom of this case?
So again, I never met the mom, but I saw her statements on the news. She seemed very supportive of them. I think that myself included, and also the family members that I did meet, I think there's definitely no accusations or anything, but it was like, listen, we need this. You mind, this is before she was found by Adventures with Purpose, but we were like, listen, somebody saw something or heard something. It's like, and you really can say anonymous. So, in other words, but they had these, not even the teen-to-teen meetings. I'm talking about, like, I think they had lines set up where you could anonymously text or you could call. And but maybe it is just a weird situation happened out there, because I don't think you can keep that many people quiet. But I talked to.
I agree. How can you keep 300 teenagers quiet about a wild party?
It's impossible, and especially with that size reward, and you got the guy offered a Hellcat. But I talked to one of the girls that worked at the front desk at the hotel I was staying at. I could tell wasn't much older than high school, like she's probably like 21 or something like that. And I talked to her and I said, first of all, every business that you went to was plastered with posters. So everybody knew about this case. And so I was talking to her and she said, everybody in town is being really, really quiet. And she said, there's part of the reason is there's a large Hispanic population there. It's like a working population. A lot of them are undocumented, and she was Hispanic, and so she knows that for a fact. And she said that there definitely is talk, parents worried about deportation. And then I heard from another person that I talked to that has kids that age, and they said that there was definitely talk around the parents of other kids that they were afraid about them losing their college commitments, their conditional commitments or whatever, to if they were in any way wrapped up in that. I think it turned into a bigger. It's not like 200 people, came up with a scheme to get her in the water. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's responsible, it's one or two people. If somebody's responsible besides her, which is a big if. But the other people, there's no reason not to speak up. So that's really, it is frustrating. I gotta say, like you have to be like, come on. I mean, this is a human being we're looking for that could possibly still be alive if she's like in the trees somewhere. So so it was frustrating, and it did get to the point where it's like, okay, if you're not talking, then why aren't you talking?
I'm frustrated about it, as I think, the vast majority of the public that was involved in this. Now, the family that you are in conversation with, is their initial hunch that it was a total accident, or did they suspect foul play, like in their gut? I'm not saying obviously evidentiary.
Right. I'm being totally honest when I say this. They kept asking me, like, what are your, they have no idea. I mean, and neither do, that's what I tell, they're like, you've worked around a lot of these, like, what, like, tell us, like, what could, and I would just have to tell them, be like, David, I do not know. I mean, I'm like, this is so confused. This is such a confusing one. They don't know. I mean, like, of course he would bring up those scenarios. They would be like, well, they both would, the dad and the mom. They'd be like, maybe this happened. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe, maybe she just got messed up and took a wrong turn. Maybe this, or like every scenario was talked about, but nobody was like locked on to anything, because then you would go like, but wait, that doesn't make sense because of this, and there was always something that makes it not make sense, like I don't know how the car gets there from where it started. Yeah. Even if somebody was trying to get rid of the damn car, like, it's still a weird spot, so I don't, the whole thing is just such a mystery.
Everyone is definitely confused by all of it. Is there anything that no one has asked that you felt like was important, needs to be brought to the light, and hasn't been brought to the light quite yet?
That's a good question. Nothing that jumps up. I will say that everything that I asked of Kylie's father and grandfather, they didn't dodge any questions. They were very honest with me, and there was nothing shocking, but that's a good question. Nothing pops out right now. There's nothing like, no, I guess the question, I'm just stumped. I really, I honestly hope that there's enough evidence there for even the FBI, where there's the best in the world. I hope that there's enough there for them to make a determination,
Well, did they say it was typical for her to be in the back of a car in a situation like this, especially when they said she had been seatbelted in one other report?
So I haven't seen those reports, and somebody had asked earlier about where she was in the car. Because I saw her, I don't want to say. It sounds like there's word getting out about maybe it's different areas or something. I don't want to confirm that, just out of respect to the family and to the investigation. But I have no idea if it's typical for somebody to be in a different area. I just don't have any expertise in like underwater collisions or anything like that, but especially underwater. So, and in the seatbelt thing, I know some of the answers too, but I don't know what's typical and what's not. So, I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Thanks for the good questions.
Joe, go ahead.
Hey guys, I just really quickly wanted to jump on and say thank you to Steve for spending that time doing the searches and with the family. I know that was, like you said, really hard and emotionally intense. But I wanted to just thank you for all of the effort that you put in, and I just want to say, like, I know you're like the real deal. Like, you really care about the cases that you're working on, so I really appreciate that, because I know you've been helping me a lot with my brother. That's all.
Okay, guys, shall we leave it there? There is 32 minutes left, but I want to see what John Q is up to. Let's talk to John Q. John Q, are you there?
Miss PieLo, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. That is an explosive interview.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting myself. I know some people might have mixed opinions in the chat. Some probably liked it. Some thought he was too, lengthy in his speech or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he did the best he could to answer specific and very candid questions about his
Yeah.
experience. And, a lot of it we still don't know, but according to that interview, he was able to, give us a perspective idea,
Yes.
as to his experience. And I appreciate you're able to, share that with us.
Absolutely. I know that so many people don't go on Twitter, or they don't have access, they don't have an account. So I felt like, you know what? There's so many people who aren't going to hear this because they don't have a Twitter. And why
Right.
not share it with them? So that's why I shared it with everybody, just so everybody knows. And I will post the link now that I have my phone back, so that you guys can go view, or I guess listen for yourself, because there is a little bit left. There's about 30 minutes or so left.
That's
I'll
great.
put that. Yeah.
That is great. I mean, to have someone boots on the ground be
Right.
able to share that kind of information outside of what we know through, mainstream media and social media
Absolutely.
is fantastic.
It is.
Really is.
I know. I'm thankful that he took the time to do that, really.
Right.
I know.
Most certainly. I wanted to share something, I guess, with you
Yeah.
and
Please.
the chat, if I could,
Sure.
because in studying the area where the car was extracted from the lake, I was looking at pictures and looking at pictures and couldn't find enough of them
Yes.
up until I was able to take a look at the extraction point of how they were able to isolate
Mhm.
the vehicle in the lake upside down, 14 feet of water, 55 feet away from shoreline.
Right.
And I'm looking at this shape and I said, where are they in this huge area? Where are they? How far from where the party was
Mhm.
in this area? I think I was able to locate how far and the exact location of where
Awesome.
the extraction point was, and I wanted to share that if I could.
Okay, how do I let you do that? I'm still kinda new to StreamYard.
Okay, it'll be simple. It'll be
Okay.
very simple. I'll walk you
Okay.
through it. I'm gonna
Okay.
share my screen from my side. When you see that extra window pop up, all you have to do is add it.
Okay.
That's it,
Okay.
and I'll take over.
So you will initiate from your end?
Yes, I will.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
I'll wait for you to
All right,
initiate.
I'll do that now.
Okay.
And
Great.
thank you for inviting me up to
Absolutely.
share this thought.
Great.
Because I'm working on it from my perspective. I'm just brand new taking a look at this case
Mhm.
from all of the information that I was able to gather. And now that they found the vehicle, that changes the dynamic from a missing person to now a death investigation.
Right. Totally changed everything, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So now we're dealing with an escalated point in a missing persons investigation, which
Mhm.
now changes the dynamics of everyone's statement, everyone who didn't come forward.
Right.
A lot of dynamics change when a case is escalated. And what we have now is an escalated case from a missing person, not knowing where this person is, where the car is. Now they found the car
Yeah.
and human remains in the car, which may most likely be Kiely until it's
Mhm.
confirmed. Uh,
Right.
Now they can pursue a death investigation as to the reason why she ended up where she ended up.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're going to do, I mean, there's 3 agencies on this right now. There's CHP, FBI, and then the local law enforcement, from what I understand. Do you think
Yes.
they're gonna do a super thorough job, or is it easier to just say, "Ah, this was an accident?" Like,
Right. Well,
what's your opinion?
yeah, this is national. This is
It's
getting global too
for
because
sure.
of the high publicity, not only on YouTube and the other social media platforms, but this has captured the attention of mainstream media, and they're
Yeah.
paying very careful attention to how police officials, law enforcement, FBI, card team, everybody on how they're
Mhm.
conducting this at this point.
Right. The world's watching,
Yeah.
really.
So, I mean, it's good because the last thing you want to do is screw up.
For sure. And
You
I
know?
bet the local law enforcement felt so embarrassed because here's
Yes.
AWP, they go in there and within under an hour, I believe, right? They
Uh,
find her. I mean, gosh, it's
35
just
minutes after hitting the water after 2
right.
weeks of searching does say something, though.
It does, and I kind of felt as I was looking at, the guys on in the press conference, I felt like they were sort of ashamed. But then again, their ego was also kicking, like they couldn't really acknowledge that AWP was instrumental in finding her. I felt like that one stung for them a little because for 2 weeks, they've been working tirelessly to find her, chasing down leads, doing all this. And then AWP goes and gets her out. It's just unbelievable, really.
Yeah. And well, thank God they were called in uh,
Yes.
after all of this effort to try to find Kiely, called in for resources that they didn't have. And for them to have come in
Yeah.
and checked several reservoirs
Mhm.
to begin with, and then hit a reservoir, a lake area, which they had already searched prior to them coming,
Yeah.
only in 35 minutes to find via sonar and special equipment. Now, do they find this car a few hundred yards away
God,
from the party site?
unbelievable.
That is. I mean, thank goodness, they made that move because if they didn't make that move, guess where we would be?
Ugh. This could have gone on for 20 years, honestly. A missing persons case, It
Yeah,
happens all the time. Look at, Suzanne Morphew, for example, missing, Summer Wells missing. We have no sort of finality here, but
right.
luckily with Kiely, we do. We actually know what happened. Well, we don't know what happened, but we know that she has been found.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Summer Wells being missing 14 and going on now on 15 months.
Yeah.
No clue. Everyone's acting all funny.
Mhm.
There's no concern, give or take. Uh,
Right.
Dawn being in jail, Candace being free and about doing what she's doing. You kind of figured there would be some kind of concern from the parents,
Yeah.
regarding the missing child, but that story is a different place and a different season altogether. With Kylie's case, We've moved on to another level, thank goodness, in a short period of time, where this investigation now has been accelerated to a death investigation. Now, things are going to start to speed up because we have an autopsy that's coming. We
Yeah.
have toxicology that's coming. We have FBI forensics on the vehicle that was extracted from the lake that's coming. And then we have the most important, a re interview of the
Mhm.
previous statements from those that were interviewed.
Right.
Yes, we do.
It should get very interesting from here on
Very
out.
interesting fairly quickly. And that's enough pressure
Yeah.
right now on the folks that were interviewed and those that weren't yet. That's enough pressure to say, we got the car, we have a body, we have remains. We're going to check out exactly what happened and why she is there,
Right.
or whomever it is in Kiely's car. The car
Yeah.
has been identified as Kiely's. So now all they have to do is add that extra piece to confirm that it is Kiely, according to the medical examiner's report, based on denture imprints that they are definitely going to investigate, as well as a full autopsy based upon samples being taken from her. That's going to allow toxicology to find out if there was any drug involvement with her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And not to mention, they have now done that cell tower dump and successfully got all the, phone info from the people that were in the area at the time specified. So I think a lot is going to start coming to light for this investigation.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to know more, because it's really a mystery. What the heck happened here?
Yes. And when we take a look at that 12:33 a.m. pinpointed time that law enforcement was informed that this is when Kiely's phone shut off,
Yeah.
they're going to find a lot of information, especially if the phone was in the car during the time the car entered the water that stopped Kiely's
Mhm.
signal from flaring out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a 12:33 marker, at least to say at 12:33 when Kiely's phone stopped working. Is it a time pinpoint in the timeline that indicates the phone was in the car with Kiely at that time? And that is a time finality to where they would absolutely know at least when that vehicle entered the water.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm going
Exactly.
to share with you
Yeah, go ahead, please.
real quick, and you should see it in a little box.
Okay.
And then
Oh,
all you have to do is
and I just add you?
add that little
Oh,
there you go. See?
right. I'm such a newbie still, I don't do many of these. I really don't.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yes, I see the map. Okay.
Okay, so we're here at a map that I was studying,
Yeah.
and this would be Google Earth, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if this is highlighted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it. Mhm.
Okay, we got map work here. Been known on my channel to be pretty good at map work.
Yes, I've seen some of your map work with Summer Wells' case. It's always very interesting.
Yeah. So just to give folks an idea, based upon how huge this park is, and I've measured the water from one point here.
Okay.
If you can see my mouse,
Yep, I
all
can
the
see.
way across the lake to another point. It's about 1.65 miles in length.
Okay.
That's no duck walk. This is a very, very huge area. We have to
Very
also
huge.
remember this area too does not have light illumination like most street areas would have lamps, lights that would illuminate the street so you could see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a very dark area at a little after 12 in the morning.
Right.
Here is a place where the party was. This place called the Sanctuary, I think they called it.
Yeah.
Right up in here. There's an open parking lot here. People park their cars. You can actually see a car parked. And you can see the size of the parking lot compared to the car. A lot of cars can get in here if they're parked correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. As we go down, there's a pulpit here for extra cars to park. And as you go down further on this platform here, which is a very short platform, and you can see it starts to enter what is called as the shoreline where the water is.
Right.
And you would have a few cars parked here, as you see. And this is a Google map that's 2020, I believe, on Google Earth. And you can see the proximity of these vehicles, the size of the vehicles versus the terrain.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So they say that her car was found just a few hundred yards. And that's when I started doing my homework. I'm saying, okay, a few hundred yards where?
Right.
Because that was the question that law enforcement had when they were pitted up against a lake 1.6 miles in length and give or take 1.3 or 2 miles in a diametrical position. As you can see, my arrow here coming out of the bottlenecked creek area into the lake area to the other side. So I was doing some measurements back and forth, and I was able to take a look at this area here.
Okay.
And from the area where the party was, it's not so far of a distance for Sammy and Kiely to have been going back and forth to the car, whether they were there getting drinks or whether they were there at the 11:30 point to send her mother the text message.
Right.
But 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds, they're going to park wherever is close, and they're not going to park any further than where they can actually see their vehicle, being that allegedly there were 200 to 300 people in and around this area here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in measuring at least a few hundred yards, and we have 259 here from this vicinity, it wasn't too far.
Right.
For
Yeah.
AWP to have located her car here. 55 feet from shore, 14 feet deep on a cuss lip.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, because any further, it would have been far deeper, and they may not have been able to see the car, as law enforcement didn't see the car for 2 weeks. But with this special sonar, they would have picked it up in deeper water.
Right. You know what, John? What's his name? Steve, the PI that we were just listening to.
Yes.
He also did a map, and it looks like it's just a tad bit. How do I explain it? Let me just add it. Let me hold on a second. Let me show you. Share screen. Okay. Which one is it? I think it's this one. Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay. So the guy, Steve, here's what he wrote. This was earlier. He said, hold on a second. Let me zoom out. Okay. He said, I don't want to mark the vehicle routes because this map is too simplistic. You have to take into account how rough the road is, max speed, how soft the sand is. But I marked where the party was with a green star. The boat ramp is not part of the equation, and the car location. So where he circled, I believe he's saying that it was way the heck over here.
Okay, so
And he
that
was on the ground for like 6 days. So I'm wondering, which one is it?
no, that's interesting because it does put it in that vicinity,
Yeah. Mhm.
from that area where the creek is. And it's amazing, and I'm glad that you're able to share that because now it begins to confirm at least the specific area where her car was found.
Right.
How she got in the water is what they're still trying to determine,
Such a mystery.
based on tire tracks that they, maybe still investigating how she got in and around that area. If the car entered the water, we do have a current that is a part of the movement of the water, the body
So
of the water.
true. Mhm.
So, if she floated before the car submerged, is another key factor in that they would have to consider for her to get that far, that deep, way to the other side of the creek. But
Right.
nonetheless, that is the same vicinity I came up with, if you
Yes.
noticed on my map.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Did you notice in that interview, I'm not sure if you were here yet, you might have been, but when he was asked about, like, how did this happen? How did she get into the water? It was like, it was something like that. He said
Right.
it would be a colossal mess up for her to leave the way that she did. So that kind of stuck with me because he's seen the lay of the land. He knows what the sand feels like. Like he understands all these important factors. And he's like, I don't know how she did this, but she did this, or well, quote, did this, right? We don't know. I can sense how skeptical he is. I know he's not going to just come out and say it because he
Right.
doesn't want to be in that position, just like I'm having a hard time right now because I think everybody who knows me knows I'm automatically pretty skeptical usually about things.
Yes.
But nobody wants to be in that hot seat right now. Like, oh, you're the naysayer. Oh, you're the conspiracy theorist. And then you get shamed and crucified for your opinions.
Right.
It's really not fair that we can't have opinions without receiving some sort of hate. It's ugly, It's ugly.
Right. But, nonetheless, we have to consider now that this is a death investigation,
Oh, right.
which hits a brand new level in the information that's now going to come out.
Mhm.
They have found her vehicle. The vehicle's not missing anymore. They have
Right.
found what may most likely be Kiely. And so
Yeah.
she's not missing anymore. And whatever evidence that's inside the car and in and around that region, and if you could blow that up, if you could,
Yeah. Hold
yeah,
on a second.
just to give folks a little bit
Is
more of a.
is that better or not enough?
I don't think it moved.
Oh, sorry. Hold
Oh,
on a
there
second.
it is. Okay.
Is it a little bit better?
Oh, much better.
Okay, good.
Better. And
Good.
it gives you the proximity from the sanctuary area that we just got finished talking about, how far, which is not very far, in where the car was located and then extracted from.
Mhm.
And
Right.
yeah, he asked the right question. How in the world could she have gotten way over there?
I know. It's really
And
quite
he
the
can only
mystery.
speak from, I guess, his perspective based upon the information that he was able to collect. Like he said, he's not an expert about water and all this, technical stuff that these folks were using.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to ask yourself,
Yeah.
if she was that inebriated, under the influence of alcohol and also possibly drug ingestion of some kind
Mhm.
up until the autopsy and toxicology report comes back to confirm that. How did she end up so far away from the
Right.
main route that takes her out of the park?
Right. It's really quite the mystery, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Way, like, around. It's so opposite of how she should have gone, I think.
Right. And then those flare up the other questions as to why did the girls split up? Why
Yeah.
was Kylie left by herself inebriated, knowing that someone else had counted on her taking her home as a designated driver,
Uh-huh.
but yet changing her mind only to leave her all by herself?
Right, and, I still wonder why Sammy gave 2 different versions of the party. In other words, in one account, so when this was just written up in an article, she says, "Nothing was unusual, nobody was following us, there was, like, no stalker, weirdo, anybody weird like that." And then in the interview she did on camera, she's saying, "Oh, I had a bad feeling about it, there were guys from all over, there were just weird people." Like, what? Does
Yeah.
she not realize that she's giving 2 completely different statements? Like, why would she do that? I guess I'm having a hard time understanding that.
And most likely she was starting to read the audience as to her responses based
Bingo.
on questions, and
Bingo.
this is how she reacted. So, by her
Mhm.
dividing her narrative into 2 separate stories, once again, once they do the autopsy, forensics, and the toxicology, that's going to give them the information once again to re-interview the statements that are already on the table. And I'm
So
sure
true.
that she is more than upset
Yeah.
at herself for doing what she did, which was quote unquote leaving her best friend who always had the smile, who's doing
Laughable.
well. She's
Mhm.
very intelligent and all those good accolades that she put on Kylie, only to
Mhm.
find out that there's going to be a U-turn in terms of re-interviewing her pertaining to why she left again,
Right.
what caused her to leave Kylie in the condition that she was in, because she told us that before she left.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Let me real quick address these super chats. Switchback Image, thank you so much. You sent 2 different super chats. That's so sweet. So the super chat says, "Just jumped on. I will catch the replay. I was hoping to hear her jewelry was on her neck, then maybe foul play." The guy arrested was for drugs and lethal too. He admitted that he knew fake medical. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Now, there's one more I need to read off. Just one second. Where is this?
Okay.
Okay. He said, Switchback Image says, "Maybe John Q can be on the horn standby when we do my reading Venice Beach area, please." Oh, yeah. Switchback Image. That's right. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your very kind super chats. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Steve in that interview, he said it very well, um, about, the point where he says, none of her friends were out looking for her. So it's like, did they already know her demise was in that reservoir? Like,
Mhm.
it feels like they had, in my speculation, I'll disclaim it, it feels like they may have known because they didn't feel the need to go out and look. You
Right.
know what I'm
And this
saying?
and this is the reason why there's such a huge hush hush.
Yeah.
In and around the same time, around the 12:30 area, we hear about this huge exodus
Right.
from this area. So it kind of pulls at you to say, did a lot of people know that they had seen a car enter the water perhaps by accident. They saw headlamps, in an area that they shouldn't have seen until they dipped out into the dark.
Right.
And hence, I don't need to be here because if the cops is going to come,
Yeah.
this is their exit.
It's time to go.
Right. Time to go. Time to go.
I think
And if
so.
you're dealing with young teens, young adults, up until you get to a stronger adult age, 20, 25,
Right.
close to 30 in that pocket, and you have these strange people that they say infiltrated this party with drugs, trying to entice this younger group to purchase or to become somewhat involved in using these drugs, whether they be cocaine or fentanyl, Percocet, all these mind-altering drugs. Who's to say? And at this point, we don't know, but who's to say someone didn't slip something to Kiely?
Oh, exactly. I know.
And that's the hard part to say that, there were witnesses who witnessed her being inebriated.
Right.
Says, okay, well, rather than leave her by herself, and you know that she couldn't get home by herself because you didn't want to get in her car for her to drive, because you don't get in someone's car who's under the influence, quote unquote, Sammy says, well, why don't you call an Uber or a cab or call mom or dad to let them know Kiely's in bad shape and she needs a ride home. But that didn't happen. And you figure she would do that, being that she was the friend. No, I don't want to get in trouble because, if their family found her that messed up, knowing that she was with me, I don't want to look bad. So,
right.
Hence, that could have been part of her motive. We still need to know who she left with too.
So true. And it's funny too, is in the interview where Sammy's in the car and she's talking to, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Tony Hodges.
Oh, Tony from American.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't think
Dream
of
Chaser. Yes.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And she says, oh, there's hundreds of pictures and videos. Really? Because we haven't seen but 4. So I don't know where these photos are. Don't know where.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge mystery too. And I think it's just all these different things that are leaving us just kind of scratching our head going, what? This just doesn't altogether add up. It just doesn't. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. A lot of missing pieces are still a part of this case right now. But with finding the vehicle and hopefully, well, I won't say it's very touchy to say. Hopefully, they found Kiely. Most likely they have.
Yes.
Once they confirm it officially, they will be able to find out a whole lot more now than they had before.
Yeah, they sure will. Right. Now I'm seeing some requests in the chat for me to play a little bit more of this audio. And then after that, guys, I'm going to have to go because I have a lot I've got to do tomorrow.
I'm listening intently.
Are you good for that? Okay.
My goodness. It's
Okay,
great.
let's do it. All right. I will go ahead and play a little bit more. And then after that, I'm going to have to sign off. But let's go ahead and listen some more.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
I promise you, we're not anywhere near. We're never going to give up on Vlad now that we're involved in. Yeah, you have that commitment from me, and right back on his case. So I appreciate the kind words though, and I promise you, we're putting every effort into Vlad because there needs to be some answers on that, obviously, and you guys need to find out what his status is, and hopefully we can help you do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
I don't know if it was PhD or M, so y'all can dig it out.
I'll go first. Unmuted. So I did just want to say, based on the Adventures with Purpose Facebook post, like the original post, it does seem like the first thing they said was parent notified singular, and then less than a minute, like pretty much a minute later, they changed it to family notified. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that they called Kylie's mother first, and that's kind of where the miscommunication started, because you can go in on Facebook and see all of the edit history, and I can see it. At first, it originally said parent notified, and then it says family. So that's probably what happened there.
Okay, so that would make sense, because when I was notified by DX of the news, and I had to inform them, we were, from the time I told them to the time that we were at Adventures with Purpose was no more than 60 to 90 seconds, because we were close. And like I said, we went rushing down there. The father was on a quad runner. He went flying down there, and they all came running.
Yeah, of course. I
like,
can imagine.
Like, stop, because they thought, I think because of the social media post. And then I was like, it's the family, it's the family, it's the family. And they're like, oh, okay. So then I know that they have some people there that I think are like communications or whatever, or PR. So maybe once they learned that was the father and the grandfather, maybe they changed that. I honestly have no information on that. I'm just speculating, but that would kind of make sense for that. Maybe that confusion came in where they changed it, because then they have notified,
Well,
yeah, it was a very quick change, and there's a lot of very quick changes. Like there's another edit at 5:34, so that's just 4 minutes later. Another one 3 minutes after that. So they were constantly editing. So I think it was probably just their PR team maybe making a bad call.
So I could jump in on timeline. So they posted it probably at least 15 minutes before I even saw it. And so if there was a minute between the first edit and the first post, like it definitely wasn't because of me calling you and letting you know. So, and that's how I kind of knew, like, of course I was going to call you. I talked to you like 25 minutes prior and I hadn't heard anything from you. So I was like, I don't think there's no way they know. And so that was the most concerning part, is the family notified part in it. And I knew y'all didn't know.
So you're saying the edit, you guys are saying that the edit 1 or 2 minutes later was from the original, because I didn't realize that much time that they had posted that long before we found out.
Yes, so the original one was, we just found Kiely, car is upside down and only 14 feet of water. We have confirmed Kiely is inside, parent notified, law enforcement on the way. And then a minute later, they changed it to family notified. And then again, they added 4 minutes later, they added Prosser Lake, only a few 100 yards from the campground. And then they took that out. And then the final edit that I can see was them saying, like, we'll be on scene the rest of the day. So it seems like maybe it was just like a miscommunication, and they were just kind of updating as because it seems like they added the location and then took it back again. So I think it was probably they were worried about giving away too much maybe or something.
I can tell you from the timestamp in my phone that DX called me at 2:48 Pacific time and 2:48, and it's like a 40-second phone call, so it's not long. 2:48 is when I find out. I had talked to her. I texted her at 2:40, or texted at 2:40. No, I'm sorry. That's I guess it was 2:19.
Yeah, we talked on the phone.
2:19. 2:19. So it was actually 20, but at 2:48. So I had already gotten the info. That's why we were about to head up. I had gotten the photos and stuff. At 2:48, I get the incoming call from DX, which I had answered on speaker before, but this time did not answer on speaker. And I think that was the first thing you asked me, like, are you on speaker? If I remember right. And So 248 is the first I have any idea that stuff happened.
Okay,
So,
well, the post is from, the screenshot is from someone who's in Eastern Standard Time, I believe.
Yeah.
But it says the original post was 5:29 p.m. So that would be Eastern Time.
so,
and then
so it's
So it was
already going
about
on
20 minutes. Yeah.
21
and then the
minutes.
edit is a minute after that. So pretty quick edits. Like the edits are, it's done editing by like 6 p.m. So between 5:29 and 6 Eastern Standard Time, they made 5 edits to that post.
Okay. So it sounds like quite a bit. I didn't realize 21 minutes had gone on before we found out. So yeah, so I don't think anything, was done maliciously. I mean, I definitely don't, but I can tell you, like, I don't even have Mr. Robinson's or her grandfather's phone number. I don't know if he has one, to be honest. I have his email. Like, so I don't know what contact information that they would exactly have. I don't know when they call police. I will tell you that I went through Scanner to try to see if I could see if anything was called in Scanner. I didn't find anything yet, but I don't know. Like, this was all kind of news to me. Like, when I heard, like, when I came back yesterday, I really wasn't checking Twitter at all. I was like really just kind of devastated, or I still am, but yesterday, and then driving back, I got home at like 6:30 this morning, and then I saw this kind of like this talk about notification, and like I should have never notified the father, the grandfather, and I was like, so I had no idea what was going on. 21 minutes. I don't know what their investigation purpose process is. I can tell you that I think the family is very grateful for them, but I don't want to speak, for them. But I mean, they did. It was very clear. They made it very clear to them. They were so grateful. But I don't know if this was like botched or whatever. I just know when I got the information, and it was that she had been found, and it was her in the car, and I didn't feel I had any choice. That was except to tell them. I thought it was the right thing to do, because I did.
Yeah, of course.
You could see you could see people like coming down, like from the campground. So like people were starting. You could see them on the ridge line, and by the end, within an hour, there was 500 people up there. Cameras and stuff. So obviously they've gotten out on social media, and of course, like if I have that information, I can't sit on that. It's like, hey, if there's an article out there that says it's confirmed, what am I supposed to do? Call 911 and be like, I need you to come out here and do a notification? Like,
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but yeah. So that was news to me, like what you just told me. So I didn't know that much time, and it was that much earlier, which is bizarre because we're literally. That means that we were.
So it was what, 20 minutes before you found out?
Sounds like it. I mean, at 2:48 is the incoming call. 2:48 Pacific time, so 5:48 Eastern. Is the incoming call from DX telling me?
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I tell them at like 2:49.
Yeah, so the original post is 5:29 Eastern. So yeah, 2:29.
Yes, yeah.
Law enforcement said during the presser today that that they found out from social media. So that was interesting.
I mean, so here's one thing though, is that was Nevada County at the presser today, and not Placer County, who we've seen in all the other ones, because Kiely lived in Placer County, so she was a missing person out of Placer County. They found her in Nevada County, so Nevada County took it over last night. Placer County technically closed there, or it'll technically be closed upon official determination that it's her. However, they have no reason to consider her a missing person right now. So that was a different agency that we saw today. Now, they were doing them kind of joint before, but I think it was more Placer heading them up. So eventually the purpose probably called Placer. They probably called the non-emergency line at Placer. And that's just what I'm guessing. I have not asked anybody, but like if I was out there, if I was out searching like I was, and I had run across her, I would have called Placer, because I didn't know that reservoir is Nevada County. Across the county's changed, like right at the water line. So
That
they
makes
might.
sense.
Yeah, I would if I was trying to figure that out, I would call Placer County and find out when they got a call.
No, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And that they probably did and called them.
I mean, that's just speculation too, though. But that's
right.
What
Yeah. But that would certainly make sense and probably make me feel better about the whole thing. All right, PhD, it's you in a second. Sorry, Steve. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's why we didn't see the public information officer. I saw some people like some chatter about that. And I think I'm pretty sure she was from Placer County, the one who was doing the press conferences before. And today, that guy, the guy who, well, the female that led the one today, I'm pretty sure she's the lead detective now. And then the other guy who did the speaking was a guy that we had a lot of interaction with yesterday. None with her, but so that was a different kind. That might have been like, why the optics weren't that great. Where people, I think they were wondering why the public information officer wasn't there, and then why they didn't get a call. But I'll bet you Placer County did, and then Placer County probably had to relay it. They probably had I'm sure whoever took the non-emergency call was like had to call the supervisor and be like, hey, that dive team thinks they found a car, and they probably got to find out, okay, well, how do we do with this call? Like, and they're probably like, okay, we'll give it to Nevada County. There could have been some lag time there, just trying to figure out, those that might not have been worked out in advance. And it was a Sunday.
Go ahead, PhD.
Pretty much everything Steve just said, but I just wanted to clarify also that, I might have been responsible for some of that confusion yesterday because, I was kind of freaking losing my mind when I thought that, the family could have found out from Facebook. But I have scaled back on that since also because Steve had mentioned that Grandpa didn't have a cell phone. It sounds like maybe Dad didn't have signal. So maybe, Mom tried to get a hold of him, blah, blah, blah. But whatever happened or didn't happen or how it didn't happen, I just, somebody had said something earlier about law enforcement being defensive. And I just wanted to clarify that I think it's all just a little bit shocking to them. I don't, in a situation where this wasn't a YouTuber with such a huge following, it's something that law enforcement probably would have taken a little bit more time to, and I don't think they're used to YouTubers with such a huge following. And I think that social media post kind of just threw them for a loop in that, from an incident command type situation, or especially where it's scaled back now and they have to call in FBI agents from here and CHP guys. I mean, they would have taken a little bit more time to start making notifications and make phone calls before whammo social media posts. So I don't know that he was necessarily defensive about that to me. I mean, maybe a little irritated, I felt, but that's probably because they're not used to this at all.
Yeah. And that's not a big kind. And I think you're exactly right, because listen, it was once we found out, it was literally like watching ants come down an anthill. The hills just people started coming down from the campgrounds where you could tell people were parking along the highway and running down. And I mean, there was hundreds and hundreds of people up on the perimeter, and there was drones flying, and you could tell everybody had cameras out, and that was from social media. And I think that definitely caught everybody flat-footed. They're probably like, wow, this is happening in real time, because about an hour later, I saw all like unmarked cruisers, like on the other side of the lake, like backing people up off the getting people. They were everywhere. People were trying to come over on boats, and everybody wanted to like get pictures. And I think it really, like, how quickly, when they have that size of a following, it happened. And it caught me flat-footed. And it caught her grandpa. He was like, he did GPS. He's like, do these people have lenses long enough to like get a picture of my granddaughter. And the liaison was like, the answer is yes. They're like, we're going to try and use the privacy screens, but if the wind's above about 20 miles an hour, we can't use them. So we're hoping that the wind dies down. And luckily that was the case. They were I will say one thing about law enforcement. They were so concerned and they were so concerned, and they wanted privacy for her, and they really respected, her body. And there was a lot of talk about that, about making sure that nobody saw anything or got a picture. And they weren't doing that. They were doing that. They were doing that for Kiely. And I thought that was really, really cool. The amount of time they put in. They even talked about, of letting it get to be dark, before they did anything significant. Just out of respect for her, not becoming a showcase, And I was really impressed by that. That was all the agencies were talking about. They were all coordinating amongst themselves, like how the divers could do certain things without, her privacy being invaded. That was cool.
All right. Leslie, you've been waiting patiently.
Thanks. One thing I think I saw reporter Ben Marchant, right? One of the things I think that might have created some tension between Adventures with Purpose and law enforcement was that Adventures with Purpose, when they were asked by reporters, did law enforcement have the same equipment like the sonar? They said yes, and maybe that upset them too, because reporters are trying to stir the turd on that, so to speak. The question I have is the boat ramp. I'm going back again to the mud. I lived on the beach. I have seen people lose their cars, and it was rocky beach, not really, really muddy, but they got stuck, right? The boat ramp, right? Is that concrete? And of course, then it would be steep, which means then a car could, at a relatively decent speed, go down that, get in the water far enough, right? Is that anywhere remotely where her car ended up? And if that's the case, that would indicate some form of premeditation. And something else, her boyfriend's tweet that I saw today, or message that somebody had retweeted, there was a hint of perhaps a suicide pact. Did anybody get that impression? And also, her best friend was on the news recently, and she emphasized how much they had been looking for her. And you said that you didn't feel like that was the case. And so I don't know. I'm with y'all. I think it's all very, very bizarre, and there are lots of questions. And so I'm just throwing out a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, no problem. And so, like, if we can, like, after this, maybe just go one or two more questions, DX, just because I'm kind of like mentally shot. I don't want to misspeak, but so to answer your question, the boat ramp is nowhere. It is near. So the boat ramp, there's that body of land which is called the Prosser family picnic area or something like that. You go over that body of land, and then that's the boat ramp. It's kind of shaped like the area she was found, but it's a whole piece of land over. So there's no way that comes into play. And then as far as those tweets go, I haven't seen them, to be honest with you. I don't know. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, and the thing is, there's gonna be until that we get. That's one of the things that's always so frustrating is I know they got to keep things close to the vest, but like, I don't know. Like, if we have, they're definitely, the toxicology report is going to be important. listen, I think like it's probably safe to assume that it's not going to be clean. So, like, if something doesn't happen here pretty quick, then my gut tells me then it's probably going to be like accidental. I think if it's foul play, I think that they probably already have. They're pretty close to a case. You know what I mean? I don't think they got to wait for a toxicology report. I could be wrong, but so I don't know. Like, you know, those tweets that you're talking about, and people speculating about. You know, there's probably nothing to it, but I haven't seen. I don't know. The whole case is so bizarre. It's total guess, but like I think you gotta give people the benefit of the doubt right now, and just assume that some not great decisions were made as far as like I think it did. Listen, I was very public about the fact that I was really frustrated that maybe they were in different areas, but I didn't see any friend searching. I was told directly by a family member that one of the people had left town temporarily, and they might be back now. But so I was frustrated because I didn't see until she was found. The 6 days I searched, I didn't see a single helicopter the whole time until the day she was found, and I ran across 2 other guys the whole time I was there that were searching. And now they could be other places, but every time I went by the volunteer center, there's never anybody there either. And then Friday, they broke down the volunteer center. They took the trailer out. They closed it up. So I just felt like it was like we were closing the door on her, and I made some posts saying like, "Get out here! You're her friends. Like she got left at this party. Get out here! You're like there needs to be some accountability. She's 16 years old." And I still have that frustration. I understand this might be a mental, warfare on them, but it's not about them or us or anything right now. It's about Kiely. And I think I just would like to see those that were with her at the party, whether they knew her or not, or had any interaction with her or not, kind of stand up and say, okay, we're gonna find her, but it just seemed very quiet. And, when the cameras were around at the beginning, it seemed like there was a lot of people, but
Yes.
like after that concert, it seemed like things. Yeah, I don't know. I just, I wanted to find her alive, and it's just a big blow. It's just a gut punch, I mean, not me personally find her alive. I wanted her to be found alive,
Yeah. And I do think that her friends, whether anybody's guilty of foul play or not, and it would, of course, only be one or a couple of them if that was the case, they have to live with the guilt for the rest of their lives just because, they left her at that party. And I mean, they'll always be questioning themselves, and part of me just really feels like that's good enough. I mean, there's nothing that the public can say, there's nothing anybody else can say that's going to make them feel any worse. And everybody already harassed those kids enough, and I just feel like it's time to leave them alone.
No, I get it, but I mean, I also,
Not
like
everybody on.
No, I know, but on the other side, I see both sides, but the other side, I'm like, what about Kiely lost her life? I understand, like if this is an accident, she's the one who made the decision to do. But like, I don't know, we all got to look out for each other a little bit. I'm not blaming it on any of them either. I was just frustrated, like, because I got there on Sunday, and so it's been 6 days, and it seemed like everything stopped after 6 days, and then it really stopped the next Friday because they broke the trailer down. And I was like, this case is going cold. If Adventures with Purpose didn't show up, this case would have gone cold. I have no doubt about it. They went to find the car.
Yeah, and like you said, I do feel like when the cameras stopped rolling, a lot of that just disappeared, and that made me really sad.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. At least, you know, I mean, it's a horrible outcome, but at least there was an outcome, you know.
I do wish that the general public would. I mean, they're definitely guilty of being crappy friends, but I do wish people would not harass them and stalk them on social media. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I get it.
You know.
I get it. I get it. I think, you know, I don't know, some statements of apology or something might go a long ways, but I have no idea. Like, because I don't know who was even there. I mean, I really don't. There's like one person that I'm pretty sure was there. I don't know who was at the party and who wasn't. It's just there's not enough, at least for the public. I'm sure law enforcement knows way more. I think cell phones and cell towers and the car now. The car has a crash data recorder. It'll have timestamps. You know, they have a lot of answers, I'm sure. And but as a member of the general public, it's kind of like, was there a party? I mean, there was. I've seen evidence of it, but I'm just like, you know, I don't know. It's all very baffling. With that, I think I am shot.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, guys, that's pretty much the end of that interview. I hope that it at least shed a little bit of light on what this guy saw, what he experienced, the opinions of the family a bit. I just hope it was informational and interesting for you guys. John, you still there?
Yes, it certainly was for me.
Good. Awesome. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here. And thank you so much for those who gave super chats and just listened intently. And thank you for my mods who took care of the chat for me. I really appreciate you guys. And I guess I'm going to go on to bed now. I got to get up for school in the morning for my kids. So it's getting late.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your
Absolutely.
panel, just to share with you a couple of thoughts that
Yes,
I
please. Yeah,
had.
go ahead.
And we're in the same ballpark. We're
Yeah.
following, you know, the case carefully. A lot of new information is going to be coming out on this case because it's now escalated from the missing person now to a death investigation. And I believe, you know, before we know it, in a short period of time, a lot of brand new information is going to begin turning this case in the right direction. And hopefully, you know, if there's any foul play here, it'll be taken care of properly. If this is an accident, then at least we'll know. And we can at least, you know, think about certain things regarding this case that we can walk away with some value from it, and share that value, because that's the reason for exposing the case in the first place too.
So true. It's really a cautionary tale if she simply did drive into this reservoir. Like, whoa. It's
Yeah.
going to be a story I tell my son here when he starts driving, like, never go driving when you're drunk, and please, like, well, first of all, I'm going to implore him, please do not do drugs. Please just abstain. That's what I would like ultimately.
Yes.
But, you know, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, they're lacing fentanyl or lacing everything with fentanyl now. It's just unbelievable. So people are, you know, unintentionally getting high on fentanyl and then doing just horrible things, really, and dying. It's not right. It's just a terrible situation going on, I think. But you
I
know
agree.
what's great is that there was a crash data recorder in that vehicle, I guess, according to what the Steve guy said. Did you catch that?
Yes, I did.
So that
And
might be telling.
yeah, and the same thing with the Daniel Robinson case, where a
Oh,
25-year-old
okay.
field geologist goes missing in Buckeye, Arizona.
Yeah.
His Jeep was turned on its side in a 15-foot ravine out in the Sonoran Desert.
Right.
His clothes, shoes, underwear, T-shirt, socks, everything was left out 3 feet from the car. And so, they had to take a look at the crash data report from the vehicle to find out that there was some strange anomalies that had occurred, which leaves an 11-mile question mark as to where that vehicle traveled after the airbags were deployed.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Oh
so
my
the vehicle had crashed, but also when it did, it deployed the airbags, but the vehicle went an additional 11 miles before it rested where it was found.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So
Gosh.
it reminds me of now the crash data report that is just around the corner. And once forensics is done on the vehicle proper, the items in the vehicle that were found possibly will get some answers as to the 2 hoodies that are involved in this case, some answers
Mhm.
on that, and a whole lot more. A whole
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah. I look forward to knowing a bit more, and in the meantime, we really have to pray for her family. I can't even
Absolutely.
imagine what they're feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is taken. I'm sure taken a very big toll on them, knowing now that she's not coming home.
Exactly.
It's a hard one. That's a hard one. That's a
That's
very
gotta
hard,
be
big
so
one.
hard. Yeah.
But I'm
So
going to
sad.
leave you, Miss PieLo. Thank
Okay,
you
it's
so
great
much.
talking to you, John.
It was great talking with you, and much love to your chat, which is here supporting your efforts to get the story out.
Yes.
And I say to you all, be well and stay blessed with Godspeed.
Thank you, John, and thank you to everybody who was here tonight. It was so great getting to talk with all of you, and take care until the next time I see you, okay? Bye. Have a good night. And get some good rest. Bye.